6 o'clock. May 28th, 2019, this is our regular business meeting, and we are in the Joanne Idelette Junior Teacher Education Center. At this time, if you would please stand with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, we will adopt the orders of the day. Are there any items board members wish to move from consent to action?
Madam Chair,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to move my discussion item on non-renewals and transfers to action.
We'd have to have a second for that. Is that correct? Mrs. DeAgresta? To move her discussion to action?
Yes, ma'am. If you could do it either for the entire motion for the orders of the day, or you could take each item that board members wish to move individually. It's up to the board.
Okay. Is there a, okay.
It's gonna cost her an alternate though.
Hmm?
Cost her an alternate though.
Okay. And that will be, will that be after, that will be the last action item, correct?
Typically, yes, ma'am, that's
Okay.
how you do it.
Okay. So are there any items that board members wish to move from consent to action? No? Okay. I need a motion.
I make a motion?
I'll second.
Mrs. Rosario with a motion and Mrs. Barrenborg with a second. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Not at this time. I'll speak to my
Okay.
motion when I'm ready to speak about that,
Okay.
that particular item.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
4-0. At this time, I would like, I'd like to give the opportunity to our interim superintendent, Dr. Moxley, to speak to a change that was made on the agenda ahead of time. So, Dr. Moxley, I'd like to turn the floor over and say welcome.
Great, thank you so much. Board members, Chairman Zork, members of the community, I have felt very welcomed as I've arrived here at Indian River, and really today is my very first official work day. However, I had the privilege of having 3 days last week. But upon receiving the board agenda packet and the materials Thursday afternoon, and continuing to receive more additional information Friday afternoon regarding particular consent agenda items, particularly number 6 and number 9 that dealt with administrative appointments and transfers, I realized how complex this particular topic was at this time, and I needed to have more time to review and research these particular items before making a recommendation for you to take action. I really operate from a trust and verify type of framework, and I did not feel at this point in time with 3 days as a consultant that I had the ability with all the information to be informed to totally come and bring with a grasp of the full scope and context of the items referenced in that particular consent agenda, item number 6 and number 9. Because it was sensitive, I wanted to be able to confer with some of the questions that I had with our legal counsel, and I knew that I needed the time to do that. I said during the interview process that I wanted to be responsive and responsible in all my recommendations and all decisions so that they focused on the best interest of each child in our school system. So based upon this belief, I made the request on Saturday to our board administrative clerk to have time to be able to do that. So I asked to pull it. It was honored, and I thank you for honoring that. I will bring those back. We have time. I did check the statutes, and we have plenty of time based on the timelines in Florida statutes, and I will bring that back at the next board meeting. I do want to be very clear so that no one misunderstands my intent in doing that. It was purely for the intent for me to be responsive and responsible in that decision-making. I don't want anyone to think, or should they interpret, that my reason for pulling that is anything other than to have time and responsible time. I don't want anybody to infer or to conclude that it will be changed or it won't be changed. That decision's yet to be concluded once I make that recommendation, and I will be speaking with our board counsel on the particular legal questions that I have. I really respect and trust the valid reasons that the previous superintendent had in making and putting forth as recommendations, and I am not disputing that in any shape or form. It's strictly for me to have the time to review and formulate the best recommendations and decisions for this district moving forward. So for that reason, I am trusting and verifying. So thank you for that opportunity.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for that. So at this time, Dr. Moxley, we have a series of presentations, and this is when I turn it over to you to explain.
Yes, thank you very much. We do have some wonderful presentations this evening, and it's always a great opportunity. We can recognize the wonderful things that are going on in our school district and to recognize what things highlight students. And we do have a number of students in our audience tonight, and we're just so thankful to have them and our community members and our parents. And Kristen Maddox will be doing the honors of introducing our presentations tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Moxley. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being at our business meeting tonight. We have a short list of presentations compared to our normal list of presentations. However, we have quite a few students to honor, and school might be out, but we're not finished recognizing these students. Before we do that, we have 2 videos to show you that we have not had the chance to show you yet. And our first one is on our Employee of the Year, Daisy Rios from Fellsmere Elementary School. A lot of you know that she was our District Employee of the Year. We found out that she was also a state finalist for Employee of the Year. And on May 15th, we went out to Fellsmere and we surprised her on the hard court with the entire school. And Mrs. Rios, she came out under the impression that it was a celebration for Law Enforcement Appreciation Week, which the school had also been participating in. So she walked out completely unaware of what was going on, and all of the students at Fellsmere and the community members, teachers and staff all got to give her a great surprise. So here's our video about Daisy.
So Daisy Rios, you're a finalist for Employee of the Year for the state of Florida. Congratulations.
Thank you so much! Oh my God!
Well, we're excited this morning. They came to tell us about Daisy Rios, that she's a Florida State finalist for the Employee of the Year. We are proud as a community, not only our students, our teachers, our parents. This is a small town, so when something this special happens to us, this is like we could throw fireworks this morning here.
I can't believe it. I'm so happy and excited and humbled all at the same time, and very, very, very happy.
I think that what separates Daisy from the rest is her commitment to this school and this community. We all want to say we're invested in our job or in our profession, but Daisy is certainly invested in Fellsmere Elementary. She is a part of the fabric. She's part of the community here. She's not just someone that works in the front office. She really is someone that knows all of the students and all of the staff, and they know her and they respond to her like family. She is certainly someone that represents not just her position in the school, but Fellsmere Elementary and the entire community.
When they come in the front, she's able to transform, to be able to serve, to be that person that welcomes everybody. But besides that, she has her job, the million things that she has to do daily. And she's one of our actually teachers in the afternoon. She's like a teacher's assistant in the afternoon. So she's a multi-diverse lady that does what she does with love.
I did grow up in Fellsmere. I still live near Fellsmere and working now for Fellsmere Elementary. It feels like I'm now giving back what I was given, and it feels really special. My favorite part would be probably in the morning. It's the craziest, but it's always different. It's not the same routine, and I like that. It just kind of changes it up, and seeing all of our parents come through and our kids and just saying good morning to them and starting off their day like that, it feels good. I think when kids see you, they see someone just working at a school. But again, if you create that relationship with the student and you let them know, just like you were helped when you were younger, you can help them. And I think that's what they're looking for, essentially.
She's invested in this community because she comes from within here. She knows what these kids have, what they need, so she resembles who we are. So that's the joy that we have in this community.
So of course, we'd like to extend our congratulations to Daisy. And last week, she joined the 4 other finalists at Mort Elementary School in Hillsborough County to be recognized at the State Board of Education meeting. So we're very proud of her. And I'd like to point out that we have had 3 state finalists this year. We had Cindy Emerson as Principal of the Year state finalist. We've had Daisy as Employee of the Year state finalist. And Dr. Nicole Mosblek, who's in the audience, who's our Teacher of the Year state finalist. And we find out about her results in July. So our fingers are crossed for you. And can we just give all 3 of them a round of applause? We're very proud. So for those of you who may not be aware, at the end of this school year, we do something called Grad Walks. And it's typically split up between North County and South County schools on 2 different days. And our graduating seniors, they come back to their elementary school for a day, and they walk through the hallways, or they take a picture by the school marquee. And all of the elementary school students usually line the hallways or the sidewalks with signs and posters they've made for them. And a lot of them even pose for pictures with their elementary school teachers or sit with their siblings who are currently going to that elementary school. So we have a nice video of those events from the couple days before school was out.
It's our first real experience of school. It's our first, memories of teachers, and it's really special because, I remember being in 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade and just remembering saying, oh my God, it's gonna take so long for me to get there. It's gonna feel like forever, but it's really special for me to see them get so excited about it because that's the same exact way that I felt.
Walking through the halls, I felt like a celebrity. All the kids wanted to give me high fives, and just seeing them smile, it was just a really fun time walking through the halls with all my peers.
It's like one last time walking in the hallways where I was like the queen in 5th grade, and we took over. And it was nice just to come back and see all the kids and the kindergartners. It's like setting the example for them. I'm showing them, you work hard, this is what you get.
I came back to Rosewood because I felt like me growing up, I had the same experience, so I felt like I was kind of giving back to the school that I came from, which made me feel like a better person. Well, to a certain extent, kind of makes me feel like a big brother because you're the role model, so you have to be the one that sets the example.
To be a role model and to see that encouragement, it was pretty cool. When I was younger, I never even thought about graduating. I knew it was a thing that you did. But seeing it, I feel is really helpful to them.
I'm more than honored, and I'm just really excited for what's to come for their lives too. And I hope they, take a look at our footsteps, and I hope they choose a similar path or go off on their own. But whatever they do, I want them to be successful, just like we are.
Being a role model is fun. Just seeing the smiles on their faces, knowing that someone from this exact school came and actually did it, just giving them that motivation to further their education and hopefully just succeed.
It's really cool to come back just to see how everything's kind of changed and grown and been better than when I left it. And it's really fun to watch everything evolve and watch all the new students come in and make connections with them, so that's cool.
It's just something special knowing that being from the beginning of the school, bringing it all the way through high school and just graduating, it just feels great.
One of our graduates who was featured in this video, Antoine Mosley, he actually had perfect attendance from kindergarten through high school, and he was recognized at graduation. He attended Vero Beach High School. So he's probably not watching the board meeting, but let's give him a round of applause anyway. Because that's pretty amazing. I'm a parent to 4, and I'm not sure how I could get them to school every day from kindergarten to high school. So next on our presentations, we have Casual for a Cause, which I'm sure that most of you are familiar with. It's a day where we select an organization. Usually the district selects one organization each month to make a donation to in exchange for dressing casually for the day. Well, what's special about May is that we have building choice. So each school or district department, they select their own organization that they'd like to make a donation to. So I just have a few highlights from some different organizations that a few schools selected. Storm Grove Middle School, they selected the Laura Jackson Writing Foundation, and they raised $611. Liberty Magnet selected the Gifford Youth Activity Center, and they raised $317. Treasure Coast Elementary School selected the American Cancer Society, and they raised $294. And Citrus Elementary School recognized the Hope for Family Center, and they raised $246. Now that's just a few of the school highlights, but altogether, our district raised $2,802.18 for different organizations in our community. Tonight we would like to honor our students who received a state bid for science fair, among other awards. I'd like to welcome Ben Ehrman, who's the Community Development Officer for the Education Foundation, and Pat Blackburn, who's a member of the, Pat Blackburn, who's a board member for the Education Foundation, to tell you a little more about these amazing students and their accomplishments.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, school board. My name is Ben Ehrman, and I am the Community Development Officer for the Education Foundation of Indian River County, and this is Pat Blackburn, who's a member of our board. A little bit about the Education Foundation and the Science Fair partnership. For over 27 years, the Education Foundation of Indian River County and the School District of Indian River County have partnered to present the Indian River County Regional Science and Engineering Fair. This partnership has become a model for other communities as a demonstration of how collaboration benefits students. Tonight's presentation is a year-long culmination of hard work on the behalf of many people who are committed to providing rich and rewarding opportunities for our students. Thank you to all of our parents, teachers, science coordinators, and volunteers who work tirelessly to support this evidence-based program that is the driver of science curriculum and instruction in our community. So thank you to all of them. More than 10,000 students in our district participate in a school-based fair. Then the best of the best, which is about 550 of them, advance to the regional fair in January. Tonight, we will honor the particular students that from the regional fair then advanced to the state fair held in Lakeland, and then those from there who advanced to the international fair held in Phoenix. Pat?
Before we bring up our students, we just want to give a very special thank you to our district partners, Mrs. Pam Dampierre, Kelly Basura, Kathy Parandozzi, Jeremy Keene, Becky Teskey, Pat Heiser, and Lisa Presti. We also would like to say thank you to Gifford Middle School and Sebastian River High School. Gifford hosts the Regional Science Fair every year, and Sebastian River High School also hosts the awards program. We also want to thank all of our sponsors who underwrite the Indian River Regional Science Fair and who provide the monetary awards. This past year, over $850,000 in academic prizes and scholarships were awarded. The students we are about to recognize represent that top 1% of all high school and middle school students who went to state science fair, and then we had some who also had bids to the international science fair. 80% of these students brought home top awards. Tonight we will present a plaque and a certificate of achievement to each of the students, And when I call your name, you're going to come forward with your teacher if your teacher is here, and you're going to remain standing until all the names are called, and we're going to have a group photo. And I would appreciate if everyone would just hold your applause until all the students and teachers have been recognized. Lauren Amos, who is student of Dr. Nicole Mossblack from Vero Beach High School. Lauren, I don't think she's here. Kieran Arain, Dr. Carrie Ann Monahan from St. Edward's School. Andrew Bickle, I know Andrew's here. Mrs. Ashley Rowland from Storm Grove Middle. Come stand right up here.
Do you want to go down?
Yes, please. Board members, if you'd like to come down so we could shake some hands when these students come up, please, that would be wonderful. And you'll be ready for our picture at the end.
Thank you. Okay, next is Mr. Will Blackburn, and his teacher is Mr. Les Rogers from St. Edward's School. Just go up here, they'll bring it to you. And Elizabeth Kroom, student of Dr. Carrie Ann Monahan from St. Edward's School. Jake Damiani, Mrs. Buckley from St. Edward's School. Zadie Dinez, Mrs. Sleeper, and that's Gifford Middle School. Lily Gunter is also a student of Mrs. Melissa Sleeper from Gifford Middle School. William Myers, a student of Melissa Sleeper from Gifford Middle School. Jordan Shear, a student of Patty Schultz from Sebastian River Middle. Colby Stebbins, student of Mr. Les Rogers from St. Edward's School. Lily Strauss, Carrie Ann Monahan, student from St. Edward's School. Sydney Tran, student of Dr. Nicole Mossblack from Vero Beach High School. Griffin Wagner, another student of Dr. Mossblack from Vero Beach High School. Savannah Ware, student of Dr. Carrie Ann Monahan from St. Edward's School. Jackson Watson, student of Mr. Les Rogers from St. Edward's School. And Mr. Zio Zudans, student of Mr. Les Rogers from St. Edward's School. We also would like to recognize the following Vero Beach High School students who competed at the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair in Phoenix, Arizona. They were supported by their teacher, Dr. Nikki Mossblack, and Griffin Wagner brought home a 4th place award and $500 in cash, I think. And then Lauren Amos and Sydney Tran were also, they got a special award, the U.S. Air Force first place in physics and astronomy, and that carried with it $750 in cold hard cash. So congratulations to all of our students.
Oh, of course. Board members, if you would stay up front, please, we have one more presentation. Tonight, I'd like to introduce Lori Scott, who is the district coordinator for academic games. She's here to introduce some students who participate in academic games, who have placed in team events and as individuals in competition this year. So, Ms. Lori Scott, welcome.
This year, I was lucky enough to take 14 students to national competition. We call it our easy year because it's in Orlando instead of out of state, so it's much easier traveling for us. I had 11 high school students and 3 middle school students that are here this evening. My high school team placed third in current events, and I have 2 members that placed in the top 10 in the, they call it the senior division. They're actually juniors, but the division's made up of juniors and seniors. And then they placed 4th in theme, and I had a young man who also placed in the top 10 in theme. He's not with us this evening because his family had a wedding out of town. And then I have a middle schooler that placed in the top 10 in theme, and he is with us this evening. You want to start?
So tonight we have some special certificates of excellence to recognize these students from the district. Harrison Dunlap. He's at soccer. Very well-rounded. Isabel Ernst. And we can just go ahead and clap them all the way up here. Annika Huberger. Robert Hoder. Nicholas North. Max Tardif. Nicholas Campione. Kayleen Diaz. Alex Richardson. Owen Stanton. Henry Stevens. Remy Heyer. Robert Wardlow. And Zadie Dinez. Okay, everyone. Let's get another group photo of everyone together. Can you just come a little bit closer? There we go. The more center we can get, the better. All right, everyone. 1, 2, and 3. One more. Hold for your parents. Okay, congratulations to these students. And we will be sure that all of our students who were not here tonight receive their certificates. And that concludes our presentation section for this evening. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Did you have anything here? No? Okay.
Yours?
All right, I'll get you that picture too.
Does that conclude the presentations, Dr. Moxley?
Yes, it does.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, and congratulations to all our students that were recognized.
So I was asking, how do students get involved in the academic games? And if anyone's interested, please email us if you would like your child to get involved in that, and we'll get you the information. All right. This is our citizen input portion of the meeting, and I'd just like a reminder that we have many speakers in our time for citizen input. The time frame is 3 minutes, and I have Mrs. D'Agresta, who is our, will notify us of the 3 minutes, and I just ask that everyone be kind and courteous when it comes time for when you hear the buzzer go off, wrap up your sentence. You don't have to stop right at 3 minutes. You wrap up your sentence, and then I'll call up the next speaker. At this time, I'd like to call up Mr. Randy Heimler for citizen input.
Good evening and welcome, Madam Superintendent and everybody else. Hi, everybody. So I was here a couple weeks ago and I said that the citizen input form was wrong, and I looked up the board policy and I spoke to a couple of board members and I sent the policy. Now, it does not say anywhere in that board policy that you can only speak to the citizen input or an action item. And I want Ms. D'Agresta to be very clear with me. Do you see it anywhere in that board policy that you can only speak to the citizen input or an action item? And that's it. I don't see that anywhere in there. So I signed up for a couple of items, and I want to be very clear to the rest of the public that nowhere in that policy does it say you're limited to speak to either or. So I plan on speaking to a couple of items, and I'm very happy that Superintendent Moxley moved that item off the agenda tonight, because I don't think it was very fair. It would have been very fair to a lot of the moves that were made by the previous superintendent for you to rule on those moves without knowing any of those people. And I see there's a lot of sharks here that probably were prepared. So I'm done with that part of this. There'll be other speakers that will speak to the citizen input. What I really came to speak to was Vicki Seidels. There's an investigation that's been going on that's gone to the state attorney's office now 3 times to have her arrested for cyber stalking Mrs. Justice. 3 times they've tried to have her arrested. 3 times the warrant has been denied. Now I understand the district has hired an outside attorney, an outside investigative firm, to investigate her up to $50,000. This is not the first time the district has done this, and lost, and lost, and lost. Are we going to do this again? I think the only person that can stop this is the superintendent now that's there now, and I think Ms. D'Agresta was part of hiring this outside firm. This needs to stop now. Vicki Seidels needs to be put back in her job. She's been out for quite a while, and this board, I don't know if you guys know that this is going on. I don't know who's been informed, but I'm sure it was the previous superintendent and Mrs. Justice that got together with Ms. D'Agresta and hired this outside firm. We cannot afford another dime. From what I understand, this district hasn't even paid for the investigation of Carter Morrison. We have no money. The budget hasn't even been approved. You haven't paid the teachers from last year. You haven't had a new contract, and yet we're going to spend more money. If Mrs. Justice has a problem with Mrs. Seidels, let her settle it on her own in civil court, not with our money. It's been turned down 3 times. She got her friend, Eric Flowers, to go to the district attorney.
Mr. Heimler.
Yes. Am I almost done?
No, I just, you're making assumptions. And
I'm not making any assumptions. I've heard it firsthand from Vicki.
I'm sorry, but
I'm not making any assumptions.
Directly to fact, I'd appreciate that, okay?
I am.
Okay,
I am.
Okay.
I am.
So
I heard it
you're-
from law enforcement directly.
okay, thank you. Your time is up. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
At this time, I would like to call up Mrs. Cannon. Thank you.
Good evening. Liz Cannon, Indian River County Education Association. Welcome, Dr. Moxley. On the action agenda this evening is the renewal for our contract with Curriculum Associates for iReady. I know this afternoon some information was shared with you regarding the iReady program, but I wanted to share some further concerns. As I have expressed my concerns with iReady over the past 3 years, Curriculum Associates has made changes to their program, but at the district level, we were usually told to give it another year. The main issues have been resolved to a point at elementary, but middle school continues to have serious concerns. My students hated iReady. Many of my colleagues share the same information. In order to even get some of my students to take their lessons, I had to use every resource available to me as a teacher to try and talk them into it. The data that comes from the iReady diagnostic is not entirely accurate. In the month of May, my students took 2 85-minute sessions of ELA FSA, either 3 60-minute sessions of FSA Math or 2 90-minute sessions of Algebra 1, and 2 80-minute sessions of the statewide science assessment. That comes to 8.5 hours of standardized testing. Additionally, our students had 6 to 7 semester exams in the final days of school. In between these 2 testing windows, our students had to do the 3rd diagnostic for iReady in both reading and math. That means in the month of May, approximately 16% of their instructional time was spent testing. Needless to say, my students did not show the same amount of growth that they did in January. In January, my students' median progress to typical annual growth was 64%. In May, 22%. My students admitted they were not focused in May because of the sheer amount of testing time. They also shared that the iReady diagnostic results did not have a direct impact on their grade, so they just didn't care to put into the effort. Spending $500,000 on any program should be vetted carefully. It is wonderful that the curriculum department spent time surveying the high school teachers about Achieve 3000. Why did the elementary and middle school teachers not receive the same opportunity? I understand that we have to have a progress monitoring tool, but shouldn't we have some input into it? Frequently, when questioned about our classroom management issues, a phrase is usually thrown out: are you making your class engaging enough? When it is beyond our control, how do we do that? Another topic I would like to address is class size. The original ballot required the legislature to fully fund the class size. Unfortunately, the legislature has done everything possible to undermine the original amendment. I find it disconcerting that the DOE, who are responsible for enforcing this issue, have allowed so many variances in the applications of this amendment. I do want to caution you in moving toward a school-wide average. One of the results of school-wide averages was the increase in multi-age classrooms. Those have been largely eliminated, but when the allocations are cut, grade level splits will be brought back. Please do not make hasty decisions regarding either iReady or class size limits. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cannon. At this time, I'd like to call up Mrs. Wall, and then after, let's see, Mrs. Wall, we have Mrs. Sanchez.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Claudia Wall, a parent of 2 recent graduates of our school district and a resident of Indian River County for the past 25 years. I would like to offer a suggestion for the board's consideration regarding board policy 0169.1 on the public participation at board meetings and the importance of recognizing and valuing citizen input. My concern is that the citizen input format at our school board meetings is ineffective because it is one-sided, which renders the process for citizens to voice their concerns as frustrating and unproductive, and further discourages public engagement with our school district and community. For those citizens that choose to participate at board meetings with citizen input, we should have the right to ask questions and receive answers. It is not much to ask. You should welcome our questions and concerns and be willing to address and answer them. A policy of openness and honesty in communicating with stakeholders, parents, and our community is key to jump-starting success. To be honest, it is disheartening when I provide research or ask hard questions only to see the board simply sit in silence or be non-responsive to my emails. To me, the silence sends a message. We don't have the time or the desire to respond to your concerns or follow up with communication afterwards. The citizen input form states that it prohibits school board members from responding to citizen input at meetings, but this format does not follow board policy. There is nothing in the policy that prohibits the board from responding to public comment on an agenda items during the meeting for purposes of questioning, clarification, or making a statement. The allowable time frame for a citizen to speak in a board meeting is limited to 3 minutes for each item a citizen wishes to address that is before the board. As a smaller school district in the state, 3 minutes per item is by no means excessive. According to policy, this time period may be extended by the presiding officer. The form's guideline number 3 does not follow board policy. There is nothing in the policy that states you can only speak on an item at the beginning of citizen input or at the beginning of the action item. I would like to propose the board consider amending the board policy to follow the more open, participatory direction that other school districts, as well as our Indian River County Commission, have taken with its public participation at meetings by extending citizens the courtesy of being responsive. Please consider implementing the following. On agenda items, a citizen should be allowed to ask a specific question on which the superintendent and/or board members will respond. If citizen input is via email or letter correspondence, confirmation of receipt of an email or letter should be required, and a detailed response when warranted. Citizen input should be integrated into board discussions and decision-making. In my opinion, a non-responsive board is tantamount to disrespecting concerned citizens. At a minimum, please show respect by acknowledging our concerns and responding. Chair Laura Zork, could you please briefly tell me if the citizen input form is required to align with board policy? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to address this at this time, and I will get with our attorney and prepare a response for that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Sanchez, and you have an interpreter? No? Okay. Mrs. Esplin? No.
The district is offering her a translator, and that was communicated today.
Okay. Mrs. Sanchez, if you would like to come to the podium, and we do have a translator. So 3 minutes and 3 minutes, so 6 minutes? Is that how we should do it?
What I'll do is, while the speaker is speaking, I'll let the timer run. When the
Okay.
translator is speaking, I will turn the timer off and then just
Okay.
turn it back on and off, if that's okay, Madam Chair.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Ok, entonces empiezo yo. Ok. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Laura Sánchez, yo tengo 3 hijos con IEP en este distrito escolar. Mis hijos son 3 estudiantes con necesidades especiales y ellos no reciben la ayuda necesaria de parte del Departamento de Estudiantes Excepcionales a cargo de la doctora Heather Clark. Ellos avanzan a la transición y el distrito no proporciona evaluaciones justas, terapias adecuadas, servicios relacionados como el transporte especial, acomodaciones, etc. Uno de ellos en Sebastian Charter Junior High se quedó sin IEP, sin servicios, prácticamente lo han dejado fuera del distrito escolar. Esto ha estado pasando por mucho tiempo, yo les he reportado por escrito y muchas veces no he obtenido respuesta. No me permiten que terapistas privados los ayuden en las instalaciones escolares, lo cual les afecta porque ellos no avanzan a la independencia y el distrito tampoco ayuda con terapias dentro del sistema escolar.
I will try to translate exactly what she has here. So she starts saying, my name is Laura Sanchez. I have 3 sons with an IEP in this district. My sons, the 3 students are 3 students with necessities, special needs. They are not receiving the needs that they should be receiving from the department, exceptional department. They are, okay, so it's like they're doing their own work, they're growing on their own, and the district is not giving them the evaluations that they need, or the therapies that are adequate, or the services related to what they need, the special needs that they need, or accommodations, et cetera, como el transporte especial, or the, como el bus, so the special transportation. Okay. One of them, and that's at the Sebastian Charter Junior High, does not have an IEP, is not receiving any services. Practically, he has been left outside of the system. Okay. This has been happening for a long time. I have been reporting this by writing, and many times I have never received information from these written reports. They are not letting me, or they are not allowing me for private therapists to come and help at the schools, which is now affecting their learning. And the district, ella el distrito, right, porque no le están dejando que tenga la, sí, because, so she's saying, she's clarifying that they are not growing because the school is not letting her have the needs that they need to provide the needs. And they are not helping them with the therapy that they need within the school system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mrs. Sanchez, we'll have someone follow up with you, okay? At this time, I'd like to call out Mrs. Diafalco. And then after Mrs. Diafalco, we have Ms. Morgan.
Good evening. A successful education means defining success for each student, then placing this student in an educational environment that is vibrant and supportive. And I took that right from our beautiful website. And I am here tonight to say to you that at the turn of the century, late 1800s, my grandparents and my husband's grandparents came to the United States of America for a better way of life. And it was hard for them. They struggled. And they worked hard to just put food on the table. So unfortunately for them, education was not a priority. But as the generations progressed within their family, education became more important. And when it came to us, we wanted to make education the most important part of our children's lives. And we did that. And I'm here proudly to say to you that our 3 children, this is their part of all the honors that they earned in high school. But I can't be prouder than to stand before you today to say that we have 3 children who have graduated college. And that is really, really special for my family. Can you imagine my grandparents and great-grandparents and parents, how they must feel? And I have to tell you that I wanted education to be the most important part of their lives so they could be better than us, better than me and my husband. I'm the only college graduate in my family. And they did achieve that, but they didn't do it alone. They did it because of their teachers, because of their administrators, because of the staff, particularly at Beachland Elementary, at Gifford Middle School, and Vero Beach High School. But I'm here tonight to say thank you. Teachers in our family are our heroes, and we could not have done this without you, our school board, and all of our teachers at their schools particularly, but every school in Indian River County. I want to say thank you to our teachers. We admire them. We love them, all the hard work that you all do. Just know in our family that we couldn't do it without all of you. Welcome, Dr. Moxley, to our beautiful paradise. I don't know if you heard that Indian River County is paradise. When I moved here, I was told, you're going to paradise. And I thought, wow, it really is. The ocean, the river, the west side, east side, north and south, and it is paradise. But not just bucolically. It is because of the wonderful people in our town. So I want to thank you so much. Thank our teachers, and it's a wonderful day to celebrate. Thank you so much.
Thank you. After Miss Morgan, we have Miss Woods.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, Ms. Moxley. I am here. My name is Linda Morgan. I am community and social media advocate. I am here on behalf of Mr. Billy Wilson with the Sebastian High School. He is a longtime resident of Indian River County. He is also a longtime employee of Sebastian River High School. He has a rapport with the high school. It has come to our attention that he is being removed, something he did not ask for, and that concerns us. Yes, he has roots there, his family has roots there, but he also has built a rapport with the Sebastian River High School. And for him to be removed and put in a different location would not be great for him or his family roots. A lot of his students have expressed concern that they don't want him removed. He wants to remain at the Sebastian River High School. Yes, his family has roots at the Vero Beach High School, but as I say, his roots, he's built a rapport with the Sebastian High School and he wants to remain there. And as a concerned citizen, I'm speaking on behalf of him because I know he's not happy. He's not happy, and he wants to remain there.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Thank you. Up next, after Ms. Woods, we'll have Ms. Anthony.
Good evening, board members, and welcome, Dr. Moxley. My name is Yolanda Woods. I have worked as a bus assistant in transportation department for over 2 years. My workplace is supposed to be a safe space, but instead it has become a hostile work environment where I and many of my coworkers don't feel comfortable. We have been constantly mistreated and bullied by our current administration and office staff. The director of transportation has been coming up with many different ways to try and fire me. She even tried to get the past operation manager to give me bad evaluations. Last year, myself and several coworkers expressed our concerns with Mr. Teskey. We thought our voices and concerns would have alleviated our problems. However, this school year, the problems have continued. I have been excluded from paid work assignments, such as fit-ins. My hours have been cut. I have been constantly watched throughout the department. I am asking the board members, please consider making a change to the current administration in the transportation department for the 2019 and 20 school year. This is a very tough situation with me because I have dealt with this problem for a year and a half. And I feel, when is enough enough? When are we able to come to work and do a job that we love to do? Because being a driver and a bus assistant is not easy, but it's a job I know I love to do. I love my students and I love my parents. But to know that every day we walk in that gate, there is a concern. There's a concern about being bullied and a concern about retaliation. And it needs to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woods. Thank you. After Ms. Anthony, we will have Ms. Nelson. Hi.
Greeting, board members. Welcome, Dr. Moxley.
Thank you.
I'm speaking to the non-renewal issue. I would like to bring to your attention a situation that occurred last Friday at 5 p.m. I was told that my position as a program specialist was not going to be renewed for the 1920 school year. I was not provided an explanation and handed a letter to sign. When I questioned the rationale behind the non-renewal, I was informed that it was a non-disclosure agreement. I was perplexed and disappointed, as all of my evaluations have been excellent during the time I've worked in Indian River County. I'm truly disappointed because it's always been a goal of mine to make a positive impact within the district. This year, several responsibilities were added to my position, and I quickly began to assess and improve the programs I was assigned, including Section 504 compliance, Medicaid coordinator, MTSS coordinator, specific learning disabilities oversight, and maintaining LEA compliance at 3 schools in the district. I will provide you a few examples in the work of which I've been involved and gone above and beyond. In just 10 months, I was able to take the 504s in the district from 30% to 90% compliant. I took it upon myself to hold 40 504 meetings with students and parents at our 2 high schools in order to impact student achievement. My work with Medicaid connected the district to work with a new company who provided face-to-face training for personnel that billed, which is especially challenging with the high turnover rate. The amount of Medicaid billing overall has increased significantly this school year due to my diligence and dedication to ensuring that the district received continuous revenue. Recently, there was a need at the middle school for a certified teacher to administer the FSAA because of a teacher shortage. I took it upon myself to participate in the FSAA training modules and volunteered to test 6 students over 5 days to ensure we were in compliance with the state. I implemented MTSS at 3 pilot schools, modeling problem solving, and data position was not renewed. She appeared to be in disbelief and shocked with the decision. She expressed how much she had learned from me and wanted to keep in touch professionally. She said that she'd never worked with a program specialist who was as dedicated and involved as I am. I traveled at least 3 times per week, 80 miles each day, because I believe that you make a difference when you're present in the trenches and supporting school staff. The evidence will be in the data, and that will speak for itself. I'm asking you to consider and renew my contract for the 1920 school year so that I'm able to continue forward progress in all of the programs and duties I've been assigned. I feel I've gone above and beyond to the best of my abilities. My intentions are nothing but the best for the students, leaders, parents, and community members of Indian River School District. Thank you for your consideration and support.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Nelson, and then after Ms. Nelson, we have Ms. Kastner.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome, Dr. Moxley and school board members. My name is Karen Nelson, and I am a school district employee and a mother of 2 children who attend in our district. This is to address the non-recommendation reappointment made by Dr. Rendell as executive assistant for the assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction. My contract was unjustly non-renewed by Dr. Rendell on May 21st solely as retaliation for opposing my complaint to Human Resources of my suffering through a hostile work environment under Dr. Rendell and Ms. Dampier. Human Resources is supposed to serve as a confidential means for employees to voice workplace concerns. These are the same types of workplace intimidation and bullying tactics that have caused many valued employees to be forced to leave. Had I known speaking to human resources would jeopardize my job, I would have remained silent. After 2 years as a district employee, I have never received a negative review, nor have I received any negative reviews from my previous employers. 13 years working as a dean, for the dean at Emory Law School, a principal, a judge, the clerk of the court, and a county commissioner. Not one negative review ever. I was given my final evaluation by Ms. Dampier on Wednesday, May 15th. When I asked her if she was going to renew me, she said she did not know. She had another employee present during my confidential evaluation without my knowledge. I received a rating as effective, and the statement that Ms. Dampier wrote was, Karen Nelson is a capable employee that has worked all year on her 3 growth goals. She will continue to work on organizational skills and maintain expertise in assigned areas to fulfill project goals and objectives for the department. On Tuesday, May 21st, just 3 days prior to Dr. Rendell's resignation date, he called me into his office at 5:10 p.m. and informed me verbally and in writing that he would not recommend me for renewal for the 1920 school year. He said that my last day would be effective immediately. He asked me to sign the letter, which I did not. He had already had IT disable my computer account prior to my knowledge of this. He requested my key and badge, banning me from the property without allowing me time to collect my personal belongings. As an FMLA employee, the treatment that was treated of me deteriorated after I complained about the hostile workplace. Is this a standard procedure for non-renewals of contract? For the life of me, I cannot understand why Dr. Rendell had the authority to make this personnel recommendation, singling me out without warning and due process just prior to his departure. Why was my fate left up for Dr. Rendell? I've asked for, and I'm willing to be transferred out of the Curriculum and Instruction Department. I encourage you to review my recommendations. It will show that I offer professionalism and I'm a competent employee in my position and with my colleagues. I do not work for the union to protect me, and I'm not seeking legal representation. I am simply asking Dr. Moxley and the board for a fair and unbiased evaluation for my reappointment. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening and welcome, Dr. Moxley. My name is Andrea Cosner, and first and foremost, I'm the mom of a junior at Sebastian River High School and the mom of a 2017 Sebastian River High School graduate. I am also a guidance counselor of Vero Beach High School, so I'm a proud fighting Indian by day and a blessed Shark mom by night. For 15 years, I was an elementary educator and been in the secondary world for 3 years. I love kids and feel that it is essential that we give all of our kids, all of our students, elementary and secondary alike, the very best. And I'm not particularly political and have attempted to stay clear of the mess that this county has kind of put itself in for the last few years. However, when a recent last-minute decision was made to transfer Mr. Billy Wilson and Ms. Michelle Holmes to other sites, and my child commented on it, I became concerned. I questioned the reason behind it and whether it was in the best interest of the school, the district, and even more importantly, the kids. I work with teenagers and speak to students from both high schools. These two individuals are amazing advocates for kids, so why and why all of a sudden? I was blessed to work with Mr. Wilson when I did my counseling internship at Sebastian River High School 3 years ago and was so impressed with the relationships that he had built with young people there. Well-known educator Rita Pearson said that every child deserves a champion, an adult that will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can be. Mr. Wilson and Ms. Holmes have been exactly that for many students at Sebastian River High School. So I ask that you carefully examine this last-minute decision made by the previous superintendent and the true reason behind it, because decisions in this district that are made should be based on what is best for students. And then I ask that you, going forward, don't simply ask questions on issues, but you get answers. You ask people in the field. You gather facts, and you never take one person's word for it because there's more to the story. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Lori and Bonzon, and then Jatil is next.
Good evening, Dr. Moxley and members of the board. My name is Lori Ann Vanzon, and I'm a teacher at Sebastian River High School. I've just finished my 18th year of teaching there, and I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of Mr. Billy Wilson because I wanted to be known what type of an individual he is as his matter is being discussed later tonight. I have known Mr. Wilson since I was a sophomore at Sebastian River High School when it first opened in 1994. As a student, I remember how Mr. Wilson was someone the students could count on at any time for support, guidance, and consistency on the campus. When I returned to begin my teaching career at Sebastian River High School in the 2000-2001 school year, as Sebastian River's first alumna teacher, I felt nervous to be teaching at the place where I attended high school and where I had had great teachers and staff to help me through my high school years. But thankfully, Mr. Wilson was such an encouragement to me then and has been all through these years. He has never hesitated to give me advice, support, feedback, kindness, and help at any time. He makes himself very visible around the campus and in classrooms. Many times he has come into my classroom not just for formal observations, but to engage with the students, which they always love. In fact, many times my students have asked me to make sure Mr. Wilson is present for different activities such as debates and Socratic seminars. He is familiar to them, and they respect him and interact with him. One skill I have learned undoubtedly from Mr. Wilson is how to build rapport and a sense of community with students. I've seen him consistently over the years gain the trust and respect from students. In high school, that's everything, and it's a skill I place as a top priority in my classroom. He has helped me tremendously in my teaching career and always reinforces to me that teaching is my passion. Mr. Wilson has also held the respect and admiration from the staff over these years. He is approachable, personable, and consistent. We can talk to him about any situation, and he is there for us. He is fair and kind with staff and students alike. He is a part of so many activities on campus and not just required duties. He has on many occasions volunteered his time to help. I know this for certain because he gave up 4 of his spring breaks to volunteer as a chaperone for groups of students that I took to New York City and Washington, D.C. in 2004, 2016, 2017, and 2019. This type of commitment and heart is another reason why the students and staff value, love, and respect Mr. Wilson. Finally, I would like to emphasize not just his work ethic, care and concern for students and staff, and his professionalism, but also his character. Mr. Wilson is one of the few human beings I have met that is truly genuine, sincere, kind, and loyal. For 25 years, I have never seen Mr. Wilson waver from those qualities. He has endured many struggles and challenges, but the core of who he is remains constant. He truly is the heart and soul of Sebastian River High School and part of the fabric of this community. I am beyond honored to work in the same school as Mr. Wilson, and I want him to know how much he means to me, this school, and our community. We are forever grateful. I ask that this board consider all of the input given tonight and in coming days on behalf of this amazing person. Thank you.
Thank you. And up next, after Mr. Infanzon, is Mr. Jones.
Good evening and welcome, Dr. Moxley. My name is Hatiel Infanzon, and just like my wife, I've just completed my 17th year of teaching at Sebastian River High School. And I'm here to speak out about the last-minute changes by the former superintendent. For the last year and a half, 2 years, in the papers, we have seen these board question the decisions made by the former superintendent. You have questioned decisions regarding insurance budget deficit. You have questioned decisions in a report to the state regarding student using bus transportation. You have questioned the allocation of funds within the general fund of individual schools. You have questions his hiring practices of a lot of outside people and not promoting from within. So you as a board have clearly questioned some of the decisions that the former superintendent made. With that in mind, you all made the right decision to ask the former superintendent to resign because it was what best for Indian River County. If you were questioning and disagreeing with the decisions, why wouldn't you approve the decision he made at the last minute as a lame duck superintendent? And this is not the first time he's done that. He did it as a principal at Port St. Lucie High School, where he removed a successful athletic director before taking another job. This shows that this is his MO of moving people around before he takes a new job to evade the consequences. As a board, you made the right decision to ask him for his resignation, and I expect that you will make the right decision tonight and not to follow through with the recommendations, which you guys already did, because those were done in a cowardly manner, because of those recommendations are not going to benefit the school district. And I'm happy to hear that, Dr. Mosley, that you're going to hear those things, because it's, I think, what's best for the district. Thank you.
Thank you. After Mr. Jones, we have Terry Amy. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening. I've been a resident of Indian River County since 1979 and have followed your school district here from near and far and off and on. Off and on since 1979. And that includes your recent transition and who is a superintendent. And I just have a few random thoughts in regards to this important juncture in the history of your school district. I'll be brief. First, best wishes to the new interim superintendent. I sincerely hope this is a time for new hope within our school district, especially in the eyes of kids in classrooms and in teachers who teach them. It's a hard task, and I hope that they will now have a sense of renewed hope in their classrooms. My second point is we need more Hispanic leaders in our school district. In administration. Obviously, we have some good examples in Fellsmere. That was such a powerful video that you saw earlier. I almost wanted to fold up my thoughts and go home and just dwell on that. And that's a city, Fellsmere is a city with a high Hispanic population. We need to expand such leadership into other schools throughout our county so that all students and all adults don't just see Hispanic adults as people who nail shingles on roofs or mow our lawns. There's a lot of incredible intellect, unused intellect and caring out there. Let's take advantage of it. I urge you strongly to do that. My final point, in the real sense, the school board has just gone through a battle, if not a war. At times, I saw it in some of your faces, demeanor, and expressions during publicly televised meetings. As a Vietnam War veteran, I exhort you to be aware that battles can amp you up for a long time. It's hard to come down. And it can play out in ways that you don't realize. You keep playing out the disagreements in your mind. I make this point because this is extremely important, in fact, to me, vitally important, that the school board now distance itself from inappropriately intervening in the school district administration. Some of you may feel you have no choice but to intervene. You do have a choice. Choose it. Step back. Let the interim superintendent have the professional latitude to guide us. Let's not squander this opportunity by carrying on the battles. In conclusion, best of luck to you, and most especially, thank you for your public service.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And then next we have Zara Thomas.
Good evening. My name is Terry Amy, and I've been a teacher and coach at Sebastian River High School for 20 years. I'm here representing a large percentage of the faculty at SRHS. My comments are not intended to be personal, but factual. We are here tonight to ask the school board not to take the recommendation by former superintendent, Dr. Mark Rendell, to transfer Mr. Billy Wilson to Vero Beach High School. To not let him finish out his career at Sebastian River High School not only hurts our students and staff, it is also an insult to a man who should be rewarded for his many years of service to our school and this school district. Mr. Wilson was informed on May 20th he'd be transferred to Vero Beach High School after 25 years of impeccable service at SRHS. During his time at Sebastian, Mr. Wilson has been the pillar of our school, respected by faculty, staff, parents, community, and most importantly, students. To cast him aside like yesterday's newspaper is nothing less than meanness personified. Our focus should be on our students, not about agendas that do not help our students or our school. We should be coming together to benefit a school that just celebrated its 25th anniversary. It was this understanding of the faculty that our principal would be mentored during his first year of his principalship. His prior experience was less than a semester long at a middle school. What kind of mentorship is Indian River County offering that this is the end result? Are we getting a stronger, better school without Mr. Wilson? No. For that matter, our administrative staff has over 50 years of experience. Shouldn't we be utilizing this experience with the new principal instead of moving assistant principals to other schools like Dr. Rendell is asking you to do with Mr. Wilson and Ms. Holmes? At our school's end-of-the-year faculty meeting, not one word was spoken about a man that was here for the inaugural year of Sebastian River High School and has served our school proudly for 25 years. No mention of the transfer of Ms. Holmes. At this same meeting, 2 employees were recognized for their service and retirement. Mr. Wilson is not the type of person that is looking for accolades, but shouldn't we recognize someone that has done so much for our school? He was simply looking to serve out one last year at Sebastian River High School before he retired. If Dr. Rendell thought that removing Mr. Wilson from Sebastian River High School would help our school, he was wrong. Mr. Wilson is the heart and soul of our school. This is a crucial time for our students, and we need that 25-plus years of experience to help lead our school. This transfer will hurt SRHS in a way that only the school board can make right. As Marian Wright Edelman said, education is for improving the lives of others and for leaving your community and world better than you found it. This is what Mr. Wilson has done during his career and as an educator in Indian River County. We respectfully ask the school board to reinstate Mr. Wilson for his final year at Sebastian River High School. Thank you.
Thank you. And after Ms. Thomas, we have Dr. Warrior. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Good evening. My name is Zaria Britt Thomas. I am a former employee of the Indian River School District. I am a taxpayer. Also, I have had children and grandchildren to attend and graduate from both schools, Sebastian and Vero Beach High School. As a taxpayer and citizen, I am very concerned about the direction of the school district or its operation. I am aware that the school district has a policy that allows this appointed superintendent to make personnel changes as he sees yield the best outcome for our children and staff. I support it to a point. But how in the hell, excuse me, I didn't mean to say it, my feelings got the best of me. If we have a superintendent that will be leaving our school district, why should the board accept his new leadership appointments? How do we know if these appointments are for the good of the community or a strategy to hurt individuals as he exits our school district? Or do we know if he's making positions to help his buddies to have positions? I would like for this board to reevaluate the policy. For the record, I support Billy Wilson to remain at Sebastian High School if he chooses to stay. I know firsthand that he has helped me with my son and grandson. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to our interim superintendent, Dr. Moxley. My name is Dr. Jacqueline Warrior. As most of you know, I wear various hats when I speak before you, and they vary at different times. I'm a concerned citizen, education chair for the NAACP, and I'm also a member of the federally ordered equity committee that still functions under a 50-year-old desegregation order. Although I have passionate commitments to all of these functions, I'm currently most passionate about two issues. I'll address one now and one later. The achievement gap of our marginalized students. This district is changing. You saw that tonight when you have to find an interpreter for the person that comes forward. I know Ms. Sanchez from years that she's been trying to deal with the school district where I've been with her, that they can't print out in Spanish the IEP, you know, for our son. So these things I know. I looked at the kids who were up here tonight, and they're wonderful kids. But one thing was very noticeable about them. You don't know, I didn't obviously see one of color. Maybe there was one. The achievement gap for our marginalized students and the lack of due process and fair and biased and unbiased treatment of our staff are two of the things I'd like to talk about tonight, one now, one later. The district celebrates itself for having an 80% plus graduation rate for African American students, while if you look at the data, just over 30% of these young people are reading at grade level. What about objective 1 of our strategic plan that reads all students graduate with the skills necessary for college and career success? How easy will it be for them to succeed when they can't read at a 10th grade level? The district's mission statement is to serve all students with excellence. I don't have any issues with celebrating successes. I enjoy a party as much as anyone. But I do have significant issues with distortion of the truth. If we don't accurately identify our challenges, we will never address them. They will never become anyone's priority. If priorities are not set and valued at the top, you'd better believe that for the most part, staff will not attend to them. A recent news article stated that our prior superintendent set the board on a path out from under a 52-year-old desegregation order. Not true. The school board has refused to talk to the NAACP, which is the representative of the plaintiff class, for almost 2 years now. We are supposed to be a community. Many of you support decentralized or local control. Personally, my experience has been that doesn't work best in the best interest of people of color. Yet our serious decisions on the education of our children are left in the hands of attorneys from Chicago.
Thank you, Dr. Warrior. Okay, that concludes our citizen input. I do have three more citizen input forms. 2 more are from Mr. Randy Heimler, and one's from Dr. Warrior. And Mrs. Diagresta, it's my understanding that it's one item, either you speak during citizen input or you speak to one item, and the board had discussed changing that. Would you like to speak to that for a second?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Your board policy limits public comment to 3 minutes per speaker. So whether they want to speak for 2 seconds on a dozen items, or if they want to speak for 3 minutes on one item, that's really up to them. The board policy allows for someone to sign up to speak during public comment, which is at the beginning of the meeting prior to the consent agenda, or you may certainly sign up for an action agenda item if that's what you prefer to speak on closer to that particular item. But that's what your board policy allows for.
Okay.
That is not what, and I know I'm out of order, that is not what the board policy says at all. I spent 2 days reading the board policy. Pull the board policy. You have it, I'm assuming. Read the board policy. That's not what the board policy.
Doesn't say that. Doesn't say that.
Let's,
It doesn't say that. I'm having
point of-
internet problems.
let's,
Add an action item. Can we do that? It doesn't say that. They can speak to as many items, as long as it's 3 minutes. Why don't we add an action item and then make a decision about it? If there's nothing in the policy that says they can't. We do it as an action item, discuss it among the board, and then
Please speak publicly.
Mrs. Zork,
Yes, go ahead.
I have no problem listening to citizen input. I think that people come here to be able to tell us something. I think the reason why, though, we have policies is so the meetings don't last for hours and hours. I think in this case, we have two speakers that want to speak to a couple different issues. Those issues come at different times. I think we still need to look at what our policy is, but currently, but we also need to discuss whether or not, and we have had a little bit of discussion about that, of whether or not we want to change it or we don't want to change it. But I think right now, we can't change it. We need to go on whatever is in place right now. I do respect, though, the fact that they think it's different, so we need to know what it is.
No, you allowed Mrs. Berenborg, and I need to speak to this because I've been in contact with, email with Mrs. Diagresta on this and with some citizens. The board policy states that a citizen can speak to any item of their choice for up to 3 minutes, and the board chairman can extend the 3 minutes depending on whomever the board chair is. It does not specifically say that they are limited to coming up during citizen input. It only says that they can speak to any item on our agenda for up to 3 minutes. That's the language of it. That is the language, and I'm sorry I can't pull it up because I'm having internet problems like always. Do you have it there? May I?
No, please.
Can I get it? This is what we're talking about for citizens.
Go ahead.
So just for the record, what I was suggesting to Mrs. Zork was that we add either as a discussion item, or I'll make a motion to add as an action item, that we review the policy, take a vote, and make a decision on exactly, if we can't, if the board does not, if the policy doesn't specifically prohibit it, then either as an action item or as a discussion, we make a decision about it. Am I understanding that right?
Go ahead.
The board can certainly change its policy. What the law allows, or the law requires, that you have to have public input before you take an action on something. But the law leaves it up to the discretion of the school board to determine when you hear that public comment. You can hear it during your public comment session, which you have at the beginning of your meeting. You can also hear it before each individual agenda item if that's what you prefer to do. So the board can absolutely change its policy.
Can I ask for clarification? In changing policy, is that something that we would take action on at a board meeting like this, or do we have to put it on for an action item at some future date, and then it has to go through the process of policy review and all that, like our other policies?
Yes, ma'am, it is part of your policy handbook, so we will take it through the rulemaking process, but you can certainly have your discussion of what you would like that to look like in the future, absolutely.
So tonight, we cannot change policy
But we can add a discussion item
at the
at the
end.
discussion, yeah.
Yes,
So-
we can add that. We can do that.
So we can have a discussion so that we can put it on an action item for the next meeting to take action. Is that right?
We can't change policy without going through the,
Oh, my God.
go ahead.
Yes, the school board has a rulemaking process, and what you have done in the past, although you can skip one of these steps, in the past, you have always scheduled a workshop where you discuss any policy change that you wish to make. Once you complete that process, you then put it on a board agenda to give the superintendent permission to advertise, and then at least 28 days later, you can set your final public hearing in order to finally adopt any change. That's your standard rulemaking process. You're not required to hold a workshop, so it is possible if the school board wishes to give direction, to direct the superintendent to place something on an agenda to get approval for advertisement, and then we advertise for the 28-day period, and then you can do your final adoption. So you can take one of the steps out of your process if you wish.
We are not asking
I'm sorry.
your policy. We are asking that you follow the policy as it is now adopted. We're here in the school district. Why can't we get a copy
Dr.
of the
Warrior, please, I'm, at this time, I'm taking the direction of the attorney on this because I have not had time to research this matter. It's just,
I'm trying to pull it
Can
up right
we-
now.
Mrs. Orr,
yes.
in our policy, I didn't hear that it said they couldn't speak 2 different times. I heard that they could speak for 3 minutes. Is that correct?
Yes, the speeches are limited. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes.
But it doesn't say whether or not they can speak twice.
It does not say twice, but it's limited to 3 minutes.
So nowhere in our policy, though, does it say that they can only speak once.
Correct.
And
That's
that-
what I'm asking.
That is correct.
That has
3
been the
minutes
past
total?
practice of the board.
It's not written.
But there, sorry, there's a difference between past practice and how it's always been and what the language specifically says, which is where I'm hearing the dispute and what Mrs. Berenborg is saying. And what I'm hearing is that a speaker may speak for 3 minutes, but it doesn't say a speaker may only speak once for 3 minutes, right?
I need to look at the policy.
Right.
again. I'm sorry.
So we need to discuss it.
Well, we'll put it on discussion at the end. Okay?
Well, it doesn't help us to discuss it tonight if we
He
don't
has
have
it
the
right
policy
there.
in front of us.
Can we please ask for it?
No, not
So
right
can-
now.
Does somebody have internet so I can pull it up?
Okay, we're gonna move on. Okay. At this time, we're gonna move on to the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Aren't there 2 other citizens?
No, that- No,
Not
that,
for
citizen
this.
input is complete. So I have a motion for the consent agenda, and I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Mrs., or Dr. Shuh? Okay. Mrs. Berenborg? With the consent?
With the consent, no discussion.
Okay. Mrs. Rosario? Did you want to speak? You have a comment for the consent? You said you had a comment earlier.
Is it time for me to discuss my item for vote? No, this is
Okay.
only for the, no,
Okay.
no, just when I get to the item that I want
Okay.
to.
So, I do want to speak at this time because we had amended our consent agenda and Dr. Moxley had pulled the recommendations and she had commented on that. And I want to say thank you to Dr. Moxley for putting the pause button on this and really looking at the ramifications behind the decision that was made here. So I want to say thank you. And to the public that come out to speak on this issue, I appreciate you coming out. We value your input on this, and Dr. Moxley heard you loud and clear on this, and she will be bringing a recommendation back to the board. We don't know yet. Is it going to go in the direction that we heard tonight in favor of not transferring him, or is he going to be transferred? That is something, as the new interim superintendent, she's going to look into that, but I 100% trust that she's going to look at this in every angle. So with that, let's go ahead and vote for the consent agenda that we have tonight with the amendments on it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. Oh, did you have a comment?
I have a clarification.
Okay.
And this may come up in Mrs. Rosario's item later. In approving the consent agenda, are we by default or de facto also approving the non-renewals? I'm not clear. We're not. Okay, good. That's why I wanted to make sure.
I'll defer that to our attorney. The non-renewals.
Because they're not
We
actually
can talk about
here.
that when we talk about my item.
Well, she has a question, so we'll let her answer it real quick.
No, Dr. Schiff, the board doesn't take action on a non-renewal.
Just wanted to clarify that that was not somehow
Yes, ma'am.
implied in any of this.
No, ma'am,
Okay,
it is not.
thanks.
Okay. Action agenda, moving on. Any items, let's see. We didn't have any items moved from consent, but we did have an item from discussion to action, but that's gonna be action item after E from Mrs. Rosario. Yours will come after E, okay? Moving on to action item A, approval of renewal of iReady software for reading and math for grades K through 8 for 2019-20. At this time, Dr. Moxley, I typically turn this over to the superintendent and you explain the recommendation.
Sure. iReady, which is our computer-based program that is used in math and reading for progress monitoring in grades K through 8, that is on the agenda for your approval tonight. There's been some discussion this afternoon. There's discussion tonight by one of our speakers. And iReady really is a diagnostic way to assess students. It is viewed as a reliable and measurable item for student growth, and teachers are able to use those diagnostic reports to help guide their interventions. Based on that, the students are able to be placed in standards-based online instruction. There is a online component that is customized to their placement levels. These results are able to give teachers data to be able to apply specific lessons and customize the students' interventions so that they can hopefully reach proficiency on the standards before they take the FSA. Teachers are provided a wide range of targeted lessons in a variety of ways. The cost is $448,948, and all things are in order through procurement and risk management. I want to add a comment to this particular item. I have used iReady in the past. I have also used other progress monitoring tools in the past. There is no perfect progress monitoring system. iReady certainly has some valid concerns, which were highlighted here tonight. Along with other progress monitoring tools or assessments, they too have pros and cons. And so at this point in time, I do support this recommendation for this reason. One, we have to have a progress monitoring tool. Two, we have had 2 years of this. There are some things that have been improved upon. There are still some things that have to be addressed. And there were some items, both tonight and this afternoon with kindergarten, the amount of time that children are on the online. In the past, I know that I have had concerns about you just don't put a student on the online and then leave them there. There are some things that we need to do to make some improvements. I do believe the teachers have a very valid voice in this, and there are some ways to tweak this. The alternative is that if we move away from iReady, which I respect that might be a decision or not, but if we were to move away from it at this point in time, we would immediately have to go out through the procurement process to secure another progress monitoring tool, of which we would need to have the appropriate professional development to train our teachers. And there will be some issues with that. I don't know what they are, but I know some of the other progress monitoring tools and what some of those issues are. My concern is, at this point in time, we do have an investment. I would love to hear how we can resolve and work towards continuing to tweak it and fix some of the other types of situations that we've heard, hear from some teachers, and see if we can't tweak it to make it work. rather than starting over again. That does concern me, but I also know there are concerns, and I want to address those concerns. So that's just my input at this point in time, not having had the opportunity to survey teachers as of tonight.
All right.
Mrs. Zork,
Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Mrs. Barrenborg with the motion.
Second.
Dr. Schiff with the second. Mrs. Barrenborg?
Yes, I would like to speak to my motion.
Yes, go.
I am the one that brought up the concerns about iReady. The fact that I'm still in a school and I have seen iReady in action, there are some very, very positive things about iReady. And I agree with you. I think that we have to have a progress monitoring system. For us right now, at this point, to go back and buy something else and retrain and all that PD and all that other money spent trying to find something new, we're not in the position to do that right now. I think we should leave it as it is for this year, but I stress, and I thank you for your comments, because I stress that we need to listen to our teachers. And we need to look at how much testing, how much time we're putting kids on computers, especially in May. I mean, May is ridiculous if you look at the assessment calendar. And I know those poor kids are testing, and we're doing so much, and we need to say, what can we remove from that? It's still gonna give us the data that we need, but yet our kids are gonna wanna come to school in May. And that's our concern. We need to listen to our teachers, and we need to vet it, and we need to make sure that we're using the best of that tool. It is a very expensive product, and yes, it's throughout the state. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. So that's all I have to say.
Dr. Schiff?
I echo Mrs. Barrenborg's concerns. I think and I appreciate Dr. Moxley's comments, being familiar with a number of assessment tools, and I'm not. I appreciate the comment that we have to have something, and whether this is the best option or not, we don't know at this moment, but what it will take to get something else in place. What I'm hearing in comments that I received from teachers, and Mrs. Cannon's comments, what I heard today from a variety of sources, is that it is appearing to me that the issue is not the tool, the issue is how we implement. And the issue is that we have not sufficiently listened to teachers in how to use this effectively in conjunction with all of the other testing we do, with all of the other assessment tools that we do. And as a result, I think both our teachers are getting frustrated and our students are getting frustrated. So I don't know that that's the fault of the tool itself, but rather we haven't sufficiently identified how to best use this tool to our advantage and to the advantage of teachers and of students. So that's my concern moving forward, but I really do hear your, if we have to have something, weighing the costs and benefits of starting with something completely new, which there's no either assurance it's less expensive or assurance that it works any better. But rather it's really incumbent on us to be more than a little attentive to how we're implementing this and to listen to our students and our teachers about what we need to be responsible for moving forward so it's best used. So.
Mrs. Rosario?
I'm really torn on this, really. I see the benefit of iReady to an extent, but what I'm seeing is the excessive use of it and the fact that we are so heavily dependent on iReady as a classroom tool rather than just a monitoring tool. I think that it's become something that is dependent on replacing the teacher and the one-on-one instruction, and we are depending on the results of iReady instead of depending on learning that comes from traditional teacher and student interaction. How are we receiving this information, the information from teacher-student interaction in terms of learning achievement versus students sitting in front of a computer? Those are two totally different things. And I don't want us to be so dependent on iReady that we forget that there is supposed to be teaching and learning. Not just, having students perform on iReady. And there are benefits. There are incredible benefits to iReady. We see that obviously with our third graders. We see the results. We're assuming that the results are coming. But I want to say that the results of our third grade reading scores now are really not 100% because of iReady. We learned today there's a whole slew of things that the district is doing to prepare our students for high achievement in the third grade, including what I mentioned earlier, which is the partnership that we have with the Learning Alliance and having a third grade interventionist in every school to help prepare third graders on this grade level for academic achievement. So can we find a better tool? Probably, but I don't think the discussion is whether iReady is the best tool. I think the discussion also has to be, how are we using it? If we are going to purchase this to be a supplemental, to be used as strictly diagnostic, or to be used for, the child that needs, support, extra support, as a learning center tool. Those are different conversations that I don't think that this district has gone in that direction. I think this district has purchased iReady and has said, this is what we're going to use in the classroom, and then basically that's it. And then we've pulled away from the strict use of it to allow some flexibility in the classroom so teachers can make some adjustments according to what they feel. I don't know with Fidelity, I don't know how well that's working there. So to spend all of this money on iReady with the intention of continuing to use it the way that we are using, I'm not in support of that. I'm not in support of it, not because I don't like it, but I'm not in support of it because of the way that we are using it. Could I vote in favor of it? I possibly could, because I don't want to get stuck last minute with us not having an evaluation tool. And with that said, I think it's pretty unfair that it feels like we're, at the last minute kind of, vote now or we lose it kind of deal, which has happened on occasion before. So I'm leaning more towards the nay, but, I'm really, really struggling with this one.
Okay.
This is a big struggle for me.
Can I speak? Can
Yes,
I comment on
sorry,
what you're
yes,
saying?
thank you.
I'm looking here at Curriculum Associates, and the pricing that they gave us on April 1st, 2019 is valid through for 90 days. So we're only halfway into that bid on that. And my concern is, that's back up page 8 of 16. Do you have it, Ms.?
I'm trying to get there. It's action A, right?
Yes.
Page 8.
Page 8 of 16.
Got it.
So the pricing on this was given to us on April 1st, 2019, and that pricing's valid for 90 days. So I don't think we have to rush into a decision. I do agree that we have to have an assessment tool. We have to have that. But my problem with this is the over-assessment that we're doing with iReady. We have to do progress monitoring, but I feel like we are doing excessive progress monitoring in areas that we don't even have to, 45 minutes a week on math, 45 minutes a week on reading, and then we have the iReady at the end of the year, 90 minutes. These kids, these poor little kindergartners and first, second, third, or I don't see the third graders, but these kids are just over-assessed here. And before I can approve this tonight, I want to see a new plan of how we can reduce testing before I can approve this. I'm not saying no to iReady, but I want to see a plan to reduce it. Because once we approve it, this conversation isn't going to change until next year. So we have a couple of meetings to go before we have to approve this. And I just ask that the board join me in asking curriculum and instruction for a plan and the superintendent on a way that we can reduce the amount of testing before we give them the authority to purchase this again.
One idea we might want to do or consider, Madam Chairman, and I do hear the concerns, and I think some of the things we can do is go back and give you some updates on how we could do a better job with addressing some of the concerns that teachers have expressed to each of you and were tonight. So one of the things, and I'll ask Mrs. DeGresta, if you want to table this to the next meeting or a date certain or however you want to do that, give us an opportunity to bring something back that address, because I have some ideas on how we might address some of these concerns. May is always a concern with the overtesting, so call it the plan that you may be asking for, but how would we tweak this to address some of the implementation concerns? I think based on this date, we could do that at the next board meeting. And I think if you table it to a date certain, that would give us some time to bring you back more information on that, if you'd like to do that.
Might I also ask, I love that idea. I'm 100% in for that. I welcome looking at other ways of how we can implement this without the overtesting, as I mentioned, and without removing the teacher. I just want teachers to teach. You know, I want teachers to have that interaction. And that's not saying iReady is not allowing that, but for 45 minutes, you know, for an hour and a half a week, you know, students are, or however many minutes they're on there, you know, it does take away from that. And the pressure, obviously, I'm beating the same drum here. Would it be possible, and I know that before the next board meeting it might not be possible, but if it is possible to also bring the possibility of something else in addition to what it would look like if it weren't iReady, if it were something else? I don't want to upset the pot, but if that were possible, it would be nice to see something in comparison. I wasn't here when, you know, when curriculum and instruction did all the research to bring iReady here, so I'm not familiar with what other diagnostic tools there might be out there for progress monitoring and so forth. If not, that's fine. I'll just look for the plan that you have, or the plans, you know, as options. But I just wanted to throw that out there as well. And I appreciate that you hear us. And I have to say that I love the eye contact. I cannot tell you how great that feels to be able to talk with you. It's great.
Just make a comment. I noticed here that they have professional development, $25,000, $500. So just curious if perhaps the company can help us with understanding how maybe through that professional development we can come up with a plan. Throw it back on them as well.
Right.
I also want to throw into the hopper that one of the things that I've heard is that the requirement is for 45 minutes to be on the iReady, and I may not fully understand this completely, but to be on whatever it is you're supposed to do in iReady, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're doing the work of iReady. So students have learned how to sit there for 45 minutes to get their time in without necessarily doing the work or doing the things that we have iReady in place for to help support them in increasing their achievement. So that too has to figure into the mix, because it's not just about are they spending the 45 minutes, it's what are they doing in those 45 minutes, and how is that supporting their academic achievement and supporting the teachers in supporting them in their academic achievement. And I don't think we've quite refined that.
So Dr. Moxley, we have a lot on the agenda for the 11th, correct? Are you thinking about the 25th? Or are you thinking the 11th?
I really hadn't
Okay.
thought of date certain, but I do know that for us to do the work in preparation for the beginning of the school year sooner is better than later. Particularly if we need to go a different direction, if that is the pleasure of the board ultimately, we go there. But you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Can I make a suggestion? Something that we did last time was we gave some portion of our board discussion time to the superintendent to make a presentation, and I'm wondering if that's anything, I don't know if there are more pressing, but I think we have a board discussion on the 11th, not a superintendent workshop.
Board discussion.
And so perhaps we want to consider having that as a discussion item for the superintendent to present at that time.
Is that doable?
We will make it doable if
Okay.
that's.
Well, you said sooner's better than later. That's the only reason I'm suggesting the 11th rather than later.
Right.
But if sooner is better than later, the 11th, is sooner than the 25th.
I don't want to overload an agenda for you on any given night, if you would prefer
Why should that
to
change
be
now?
back in, at the end of June. I just think it is an important discussion, and we need to address it.
So,
Doc-
go ahead.
Well, Dr. Moxley, Ms. Dampier looked like she wanted to say something about it. Is there a time certain or concern that you have about time for this?
I can't hear you.
Just the process, this is not an easy process to get things approved, we have to go through the attorney, so I'm just saying, turnaround time, it takes. I know you're saying it's last minute, we started working on this back in February, and by the time we've gone back and forth with the attorney, with risk management, that's why it's on the agenda, so it takes a while, it just doesn't happen within a month, because we have to get the contract approved, we have to go back and forth with their attorneys, so it's very time consuming. It's not something that happens within a month's time. All of my team will tell you, when we start contracts, it takes a good 3 months. So it's not something that happens overnight. I'm just being honest with you.
I'm just a little nervous about starting over with another program because
Right.
you're talking about 3 months.
Right.
But I do like the fact that I'd like to see a plan so that we know you're listening to the teachers and our administrators know that, what the plan is. I think that's important, that everybody agrees that this is the plan.
Right, and I agree with you. That was my, this is the same contract. It's valid for 90 days. I wasn't looking at changing the contract, but I want to see a commitment on reduction, and I want to see it on paper. So I agree with you. I'm not
I think
looking at
that's what we're
changing.
asking for.
Right.
I don't think we're questioning whether or not, at this point, to go with this company. I think, we're kind of here. But my concern is I want to be able to have a plan, and I think I'm hearing the same concern, is we want to say, what can we finally take off the table for our teachers and our kids?
Okay. All right, so is the term table or postpone?
I would suggest that it would be a motion to postpone to a date certain.
Okay.
But you have a pending motion and second on the table.
Okay.
I'll remove it.
I'll remove my second.
Okay.
If I have to do that. I don't know if I do.
Yes, you do. Okay. Mrs. Berenberg, would you like to make the motion with the
Sure, I'll make a motion that we table this for the next meeting,
okay.
or postpone it to the next meeting.
Second.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to B, approval to accept proposal provided by QBE Insurance Corporation to provide stop-loss insurance for health insurance claims based on 225,000 claim level for 12 months to be effective July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020.
I'll make a motion.
Wait, Dr.
sorry.
Moxley.
I'm trying to
like
move this along.
proactivity.
I'm trying to move it along.
Would you care to
Sure.
explain this item?
Yes, the stop-loss policy was remarketed by our insurance consultants, Aon. The premium is estimated to be 8.5% less than last year as a result of increasing the claim premium stop-loss level from $175,000 to $225,000 as recommended by the Health Insurance Advisory Task Force. We like when there's a reduction.
Absolutely.
Now I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Second.
Dr. Schiff with a second. Okay, Mrs. Barrenborg, would you like to speak?
Yes, I do want to speak to it. I'd like to say, they did a good job explaining all this to us. I still had some questions about some of the things that were brought up to us later about
okay.
questioning this. So I wanted to just make sure that you look into those things that were questioned.
Okay, yes,
Okay.
yes, thank you for pointing that out.
All right, thank you.
All right, Dr. Schiff?
No, I have nothing to
No.
add.
Mrs. Rosario?
No, ma'am.
Now, this was the, you weren't here, but I believe this was the item that we're gonna save 69,000, and that money was gonna go back into next year. That's gonna go, the next, school year, that's
Okay,
gonna go into our fund balance. Is that what I remember correctly? Okay,
okay.
All right.
Thank you for that clarification.
I think so, but if I remember correctly, yes. And it was at, for Dr. Moxley, it was at our last school discussion session, right? Our
On the
last school
14th,
board
yep.
discussion session,
Okay,
in case you want to.
May 14th.
I can go back and look at
Yes.
that.
Okay. No more discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0.
Thank you.
Moving on to C, approval to piggyback the Palm Beach County Contract 555449A to issue purchase order to Holb Sierra Corporations for security camera and installation. Dr. Moxley?
Yes, the scope of this request is to address security camera needs in identified areas. This order will include cameras, servers, cabling and installation costs. Sites and camera locations are not being identified publicly for security purposes and certainly meets the letter of the law on that. The cost of this project is $72,810 and it's funded from the capital budget.
Okay. Need a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion.
Mrs.
Second.
Barrenborg, Dr. Schiff. All right, Mrs. Barrenborg?
I don't wish to speak to this.
Okay, Dr. Schiff?
Nope.
Mrs. Rosario?
No, ma'am.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0. Moving on to D, approval of memorandum of understanding with Indian River County Sheriff's Office for access to school district security cameras. Dr. Moxley?
Yes, this agreement is being entered into for allowing the Indian River County Sheriff's Office to access school district security camera system during times of an emergency, and I think this is very important. The agreement covers but is not limited to confidential and exempt security and safety plan information, defining what constitutes an emergency. The Indian River County Sheriff's Office personnel authorized to access the system, confidentiality of educational records pertaining to recordings, audit of the Indian River County Sheriff's Office, access to the system, and termination parameters. There is no cost to the district to implement this.
Okay. I need a motion. Dr. Schiff?
I'm second.
Mrs. Rosario? Dr. Schiff, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Rosario?
I have some questions, but I have some security concerns too. I don't want to violate some of the agreements that we said that, we wouldn't talk about certain things with regard to security at the dais for that reason. So if this question teeters on that, borderline, just let me know and I'll ask you another time. With this, if there is a concern, has the agreement been made to retrieve said video of such an event? An event happened at a school, and the sheriff's office wants to pull the video. The video is our property. Is the pulling of the video still have we ironed out the ownership of the video? Does it come back to us? Do they get a copy? Is that teetering?
Ms. DeAgresta, would you like to address that?
And
It
and
has
here's-
been discussed.
Yeah, and
yes.
it has been, and here's why I ask. This is not meaning to be controversial at all, but when the concerns with the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas happened, obviously, that was a very extreme situation. The sheriff's office, of course, they needed, to investigate. They wanted to come in and actually, I don't know if it was them, a law enforcement agency, and I forget if it was sheriff's office or another one, wanted to come in and actually take the entire system, the entire memory board, for the purposes, but then that would leave the school district without having access to run the entire district. So there was a legal issue there, and they had to get a subpoena and so on and so forth. So God forbid we're faced with something of that sort. What happens in that case with regard to video access and this kind of stuff?
Mrs. Rosario, for the Broward School Board, they were served with a warrant for law enforcement to take possession. This document that the board is being asked to approve does not address the situation of a warrant being issued. This document addresses a situation where the sheriff, in an emergency situation as defined in the document, can view live video footage. And then there's a separate section of the agreement that addresses a situation where the sheriff's department may need to obtain a copy of video footage. But it does not address a situation where a law enforcement agency has issued a warrant to take possession of something. That is something that we will need to address on a case-by-case basis, depending upon the circumstances, depending upon the warrant, and depending upon the law enforcement agency that issues it. To my memory, the warrant that was issued to take possession of the computer system in Broward County was issued by the FBI.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on this?
I'd just like to thank all your hard work and all the law enforcement agencies that we worked with that gave us lots of good information and helped us make this decision, so thank you.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. Okay, moving on to E, approval to issue a purchase order that exceeds $50,000 for HVAC renovations at Wabasso School. Dr. Moxley?
Yes, this one, in accordance with School Board Policy 6320, the Superintendent's authority is limited to purchase commodities and/or contractual services in the total amount that does not exceed $50,000. In this particular situation, we are requesting approval to process and release a purchase order for to Climate Control Mechanical Services in the amount of $265,278 plus a 10% contingency for a total of $291,805. This work is in accordance with the School District of Indian River County 04-0-2018JC. You have the backup for this information. It is included in the 5-year capital outlay plan, And so we are asking this to be in compliance with the policy.
Move approval.
I'll second.
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Barrenborn?
Good.
No. Mrs. Rosario?
No, ma'am.
No.
Moving right along.
That's great. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our new, our action item, can I call it F? It was an item that was under discussion with Mrs. Rosario. Let me go, hold on a second. 2018-19 administrative non-renewals and transfers that was under discussion, and we've moved that to action. Item F. Mrs. Rosario,
Yes, ma'am.
here to explain your item.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to hand out an email that came to me earlier today, but with all of the meetings that we had, I had not had enough time to ask Nancy to share it with you all. But just before coming in, obviously while we were having dinner, I was able to print this. This is a list that I requested of the non-renewals and the transfers. So you can take one and one, please, by all means. I put one here for you already.
Well, here's one for you.
You could, please, by all means, there's extra. And of course, Nancy can, you can have the extras, Nancy, for the records. We've heard from the citizens tonight on various either non-renewal or transfer concerns. I just want to say, without knowing Dr. Moxley, thank you very much for pulling the transfers. I was going to ask the board through consensus to please consider asking you to do just that, to pull the transfers, because there are so many concerns, and it may not actually be about the transfer itself, but about the way it was done. And so having the opportunity, being new and having the opportunity to kind of investigate a little bit more and make a decision as our superintendent is critical. And I'm so happy that you made that decision. But I'm also going to ask the board to consider the same thing for the non-renewals. As Dr. Moxley mentioned with the transfers, they may exactly say the same. There is no guarantee that any of the transfers will be honored or stopped. You know, we don't know. It is certainly up to the superintendent to make that decision. And I trust that she will rightly vet each situation appropriately. The non-renewals are also a very serious concern of mine. I don't have as many concerns with regard to teacher non-renewals. I have not heard of any, I really haven't received any concerns with regard to teacher non-renewals. But I'm not going to isolate, I'm not going to cherry pick. So I'm gonna ask that all of the non-renewals also be taken into consideration when you review, and we have time. There is no rush. With the same time that the issue here is that non-renewals do not have to come to us for approval. We don't have to vote on them because they are non-renewed. But I cannot rest easy without asking for the true evaluation of these individuals. I can't. I know that legally without cause means without cause. There's no cause, I can let you go and that's it. But we have people behind every desk. We have single parents. We have, people with mortgages and real lives that are being called in and just without heart. That's it, you're gone, you can leave right now. There's something wrong there. There's something wrong in how we treat people when we are non-renewing them, especially in that fashion. And that's all I'm asking. There are 46 total non-renewals here. I had been asking for these non-renewals since last week, and I have to tell you, it was like jumping through hoops just to get the list. They don't exist, they exist. They'll be on the agenda, they won't be on the agenda. I don't have to put them on the agenda. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Give us everybody. I should not have to go through public records to get this. We are responsible. We do not get involved in the superintendent's day-to-day operations. That is not our job. We are not supposed to micromanage the superintendent. That is not our job. But our job is to approve the recommendations of the superintendent. In this case, our superintendent did not make these recommendations. And these recommendations come attached to your name on our agenda. And I'm just asking for time as well, like the transfers, that you would consider, and I'm hoping that I can convince my fellow board members to just agree with that, and let's let Dr. Moxley make the determination after kind of, looking through everything that she had. I mean, she has a lot of work coming up. But I trust that the right decision is gonna be made. Here's a couple of main points that I have issue with. Calling in an employee after 5 p.m., which is not your work time, for an end-year evaluation without being prepared and then telling that employee to just leave. Where's the legitimacy in that? It's not her work hours. Legally, she's not working. But we're calling that person in and then sending that person home without retrieving their personal documents? How are we allowing the previous superintendent, to non-renew someone who was not their direct supervisor without the direct supervisor present? How does the superintendent in that case know the work ethic and the professionalism of that employee? I mean, to me, there's an ethical issue there. Treating an employee or any of the employees in this fashion, even transferring some that have been transferred at the split moment right before the prior superintendent was leaving, to say, I'm sorry, you're going to be transferred, take it or leave it, for someone who has 1 year to retire. I think there could have been some other ways to mitigate through some of those concerns rather than transferring someone 1 year before, after being there over 27 years. I mean, these are some real concerns. You heard all of the people here. I don't need to go through each and every one of them. But I do ask that the board members would please vote on this for me so that Dr. Moxley will be able to do the right thing by our employees. Again, no promise that anything will definitely be changed, but to give them an opportunity, to give Dr. Moxley an opportunity to rightly recommend non-renewals or remain with what has been recommended, I would be perfectly okay with that. But as it stands now, I'm not okay with what was given to us and what was not given to us.
What are you asking us to do?
I'm asking you to vote with me to allow Dr. Moxley the same opportunity to review the non-renewals as she is doing with the transfers. That's it.
I agree with what you've said. I'm not sure it's a vote. I think, I'm not sure that that's
By
something we vote on.
consensus.
But
Then
I
by
think that's,
consensus. Whatever it is.
We
I
can make
just-
a recommendation to Dr. Moxley, but this is Dr. Moxley's issue in this case, not something that I think, and Ms. DeGresta, you may want to clarify for me. I think we don't vote on this. I think we make a request or recommendation for Dr. Moxley to consider the non-renewals, but I'm not clear that we vote on it.
Okay, whatever the word is, I'm totally okay with it. Yeah.
We'll have Mrs. DeAgresta explain what our authority is and how we should proceed forward.
And thank you. And Dr. Schiff, the issue that you were discussing is it's under the statutes that deal with personnel recommendations that come from the superintendent's office. Those recommendations must come from the superintendent. If the superintendent doesn't make a recommendation, the board cannot step in and make one for her. It must come from the superintendent. So with regard to a non-renewal, that's what you're getting, is you're not getting a recommendation. So certainly you can request the superintendent to review prior analysis or prior work done by a prior administration and request a review of that work just to verify that the current superintendent is still in agreement with those recommendations or wishes to make a change. That can be done, of course, at any time, not necessarily just in June or July. But Dr. Schiff, the issue that Dr. Schiff has brought up is personnel recommendations must come from the superintendent, not from the board forcing the superintendent to make a recommendation. So I think we're all saying the same thing. We're just using a few different words.
Language.
Yes, ma'am.
Should I change what I'm saying?
Well, it doesn't
Should I
have to
change
be a
what I'm
vote,
asking?
just a recommendation.
Yeah.
So we have to have a consensus in making the recommendation, but we need to know specifically what we're asking of her. Are we asking her, are we asking Dr. Moxley to look at all 47, was it 47? 46, individually, personally, or will she be meeting with that's where we have to get specific on this. Do we want her to meet with, let's say, the very first one on here is from Citrus. So are we asking Dr. Moxley to meet with the principal, who was the one that didn't make, is that how it works? The principal doesn't do the renewal?
Well, here's, if we were to do that, I think then we would be trying to micromanage
But
her,
we
her,
have to-
like, her daily routines on how. I think Dr. Moxley understands where I'm going with just verifying that these are, the same that you were doing with the transfers, doing here. So the recommendation would be to ensure that the non-renewals.
I think.
Can I speak? Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry,
No,
Dr.
no,
Moxley.
No, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We had a speaker that came up and said, stop intervening in school district leadership. And I agree. That is not our job. As a former principal, when I made a non-renewal, it's a tough decision. It is, and it's vetted by that direct supervisor. And when you make that recommendation, it goes to the superintendent. The superintendent either brings it up to the board if it's a contract renewal issue, or if it's just a non-renew, it doesn't come before the board. So it's really not our issue. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not, we're not the ones sitting in the seat to make this decision. It's really theirs. Now, I hear the people that have had this happen to them, and it is concerning. I know they're sitting here wondering what's going to happen. There is a process that they can follow, and that process is to call your office and make an appointment and have a conversation and see if they can do it. Now, do we want to have all these people do that? I think the people that are sitting here are hearing us, and they're saying, I have that option. I have that option to go and vet and see what I can do about my position. I also think, to be fair to our leadership, and you've been in that position, that we need to not tell them that we're not going to agree with their decision.
I didn't say that.
I know, but what I'm saying is,
I didn't say that.
there is a process already for that. If somebody's upset with what happened, they can call the superintendent's office and have that dealt with. Yes, they can call the school board, and when people have called me, I have picked up the phone and called the superintendent. I've already had a conversation with her about 2 of them. I sat with her this morning, and I said, before we meet today, I want to talk to you about 2 things, because I don't want to hit it at the meeting, because this is not the appropriate time to talk about personnel issues. The appropriate time is a one-on-one conversation with the superintendent. And so that's how I handled it. And I just think that if we do this, we're taking away from our leadership their power. I get that people aren't happy with it, but there is a way that they can deal with it. They can go and call the superintendent's office and they can say, I want to have a conversation with you.
Dr.
Yeah, I think it's that, I don't think that's what Mrs. Rosario is asking. I don't think that she is necessarily second guessing. I'm sorry, I'm
That's okay.
speaking, in the third person, and you're sitting right here.
That's okay.
But I don't think she's necessarily suggesting that these are not valid recommendations. What I'm hearing her say is that they were made by an outgoing superintendent in the last 3 to 5 days of his
I get that.
appointment. We have a sitting superintendent who is responsible for those decisions, and we're asking her to confirm that as the responsible party, that this simply not go through on the recommendation of the previous superintendent, about whom we may or may not have concerns about that. We're not suggesting it go either way, but we're asking the current superintendent to just please consider reviewing that. It doesn't mean the decision is going to change, and it doesn't mean that we're not trusting the recommendation necessarily of everybody who made those. But we have heard tonight, and we have all received some information that there's some concern about the process by which those were done.
Yep.
So I actually agree with Mrs. Rosario on this, not necessarily that that all 46 decisions have to be second-guessed or changed, certainly not, but rather that our sitting superintendent be sure that these are the decisions she wants to be responsible for as they're going forward under her tenure.
Yeah, I think just hearing us saying this, I think is enough. I don't think we have to give action to it.
No, she knows. I think she knows.
Dr. Moxley, I'd like to hear your perspective on this.
Sure, and I'm always happy to review any concern from any community member, any board member, any teacher, any staff member. I think in this situation, I am happy to review the process and the procedure, maybe the way it was done. I hear what people have said. I do have a little bit of a concern if, and I don't think I've heard this, but I just need to verbalize it to make sure that I didn't hear this. I think it would be a bad precedent if I were to go back and have to go through each and every one of these individuals and redo, because we have many principals, we have department heads, those kinds of supervisors that have worked, and very well, every one of these may be legitimate in the process that was used, and that. I hear concerns that may not be true 100% here. And so again, the way we go about doing it and treating people with humanity and dignity and respect are always the way we want to do business. And so that would concern me if we didn't do business that way. I don't know whether we did or we didn't. But I think there's sometimes we have situations, call it non-renewal, or if a contract expired. I have a 1-year contract. I served my 1-year contract at the end of that last day. I really have no expectation to be beyond that. As a superintendent, if I had a 3-year contract, I could be doing a bang-up job. I could have perfect evaluations, but at the end of that 3 years, I really don't have an expectation to work one day beyond that. I'm fortunate if I do, but I may not. So in some situations, there may be some of those situations that we're going a different direction. There's a whole litany of things. There may be situations, and I don't know if any of them applies here, where we've had a reduction, and maybe the allocations are different. And so instead of having 3 third-grade teachers, we're going to have 2 third-grade teachers, or whatever it may be. So there might be a non-renewal because the contract expired, and we now need 2 instead of 3. I don't know what these scenarios are, but I am always more than happy to review anything that we have. Again, it may come completely as it is, but I do think it would be difficult if we got into a situation where we now said every non-renewal had to come.
Right.
Because you would just, the red tape that would be created in that scenario would not be a good thing. But I am happy to review anything.
I appreciate that greatly. This situation certainly is very different than the typical end of year. And I honestly, truly appreciate the attention to this. Thank you.
So that was an action item. Does she need to?
So just my comment is that I've only been contacted by 2 on that list. Those are really the 2 that Dr. Moxley would really need to look into, because nobody else has contacted us in issues.
Yeah, but I can't pick and choose. I don't feel comfortable saying just 2 and forget the others.
Well, nobody else has contacted us, and.
So I
So then
think we
if
can.
are you suggesting
No, I'm
that
not
we
saying that,
recommend
but I'm,
just the couple?
Can I make a suggestion?
yeah, go ahead.
I think we could actually leave this to Dr. Moxley. I don't think we actually need that level of specificity.
Good.
I think we know what we're referring to. I think we heard it tonight. I think she knows what the issues are, and I think we can trust her to manage that.
I agree.
Do I need to make a motion? No.
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 No action is required if the board doesn't require someone to take action.
Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you. We are gonna move on to superintendent's reports.
I will make this very quick, so
Okay.
we know the time is near. I just really want to thank everyone here for the opportunity to serve in Indian River. It's a delightful community. I can see the passion and the dedication to children. It was great to recognize the students here. Thank you for reminding me of the microphone. And it has been a fast 3 transitional days, and we've had a great day together as we do the work of this school district. I really do want to thank the outgoing superintendent for his professionalism and welcoming me and made the 3 days productive, and we got a lot of things accomplished during that time. We had a seamless close to the school year with students. I want to thank the administrators, the teachers, and all the staff for their diligence and attention, because we know the last week of school is always an interesting one, as we have exams and we have early release day, and everyone had great attention to structure, organization, and were student-focused, and that made for a successful end of the year. So I appreciate everyone's hard work as they kept students first and foremost a priority. We ended the week with the receipt of our 3rd grade ELA scores. I hope everyone was able to see the great press release that Ms. Maddox put out. Congratulations to our students, our 3rd grade students. They worked hard, they stayed focused, and they stayed the course, and we certainly saw the increase. Our teachers, our administrators, every single person in our school district was focused on student achievement, and it shows. Our community partners, our vested partnership with us, again, everything it takes a village to raise a child, and that certainly is proof here. We saw a 4-point increase, which now totals the 7 points since 2015. We're moving in the right direction. So again, I look forward to getting the additional scores. Those scores belong to the teachers, the administrators, and Dr. Rundell, and certainly I get to announce and praise everyone, but they certainly are owned by everyone here. I wanted to let you know that I do have Jim Hamilton, Bill Vogel, and John Reichard. They will be in the district working with me Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. FADS is providing those resources. I take advantage of every expertise we can get. So I appreciated Tim Bergeron being with us today and his expertise as we go through that. I did make an outreach to Andrea Messina. I would like to suggest, and we can get some dates for this, that because I'm new and I'm learning our way of work, we're all here working together. If we could do the training on roles and responsibility and getting the way we want to work together and how we communicate, it would be incredibly helpful to me here, and I think it might be helpful to all of us working together. So I will get some more information. I did make that call. There is a FADS and FSBA joint meeting in Tampa, I think on June 13th and 14th. I will be attending the FADS meeting. And the legislative update, I do want to get all that latest information. I know there are some significant bills out there that have some changes to us, and I want to be up to speed on that with that one. The other request, board members, is just for help. I'm asking for your help so you can help me learn the needs of the district, how you need information. So as you get requests, and you've already started to do this, but I'd like to continue this for a time period into the future. If any requests you get for information, any complaints you get, if you will send them directly to me, this way I will start to learn the needs of this district, the needs of the community, the needs of our employees, and I will work with you on those. And so whatever information I can expedite that and get that to you. So for the time being, it will help me to be able to help you better. So I appreciate that. So, and that's what I have tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. All right, moving on to the discussion, but we've already exhausted that through action. We did talk about, but we decided not to discuss the citizen input tonight, or were we gonna discuss
You
that?
were going to. You said, let's put it to the discussion.
I don't have, here's the problem with talking about it, is I don't have that, that in front of me, and the ability to really read the language and take a look at it.
Okay, may I?
Mm-hmm.
I have the policy in front of me. I'm just going to read one part of it that addresses this. And I know you don't have it, and we can come back to this, but I want to be able to address the citizens that had this concern, that we can mention this.
Mm-hmm.
Each statement, this is in the board policy, under letter A, guidelines regarding the amount of time an individual has to address the board. Number 1, each statement made by a member of the public shall be limited to 3 minutes duration. Persons will be recognized in order in which the requests were received. Persons may speak for up to 3 minutes at the beginning of the meeting, as indicated on the order of business, and may speak for up to 3 minutes to each action agenda item and board member discussion item.
What policy number is that?
0160, public participation at board meetings.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 0169.1. This was sent to us April 20, oh no, this was sent to us by Mrs., oh, I just lost it. By Mrs. Diagresta.
That board policy 0169?
Yeah, I just lost it.
Mrs. Diagresta, can you explain 0169?
The policy language that Mrs. Rosario was just reading, that was something that the board in 2017 was discussing, and it was language that they had requested that I put together for them, but that language was never adopted by the board. That was proposed language, and because this board was talking about revising your policy, so I provided that prior proposed language to kind of help you with your discussion as to what other boards had discussed about increasing the places where people speak during the meeting. They talked about increasing the amount of time that was provided to speakers, and they also talked about, the prior board talked about allowing public comment with regard to board member discussion items. So there were several different components that had been discussed in 2017, and that language that Mrs. Rosario was reading from was proposed language, but that board never adopted it. And I provided it to assist you with your discussion.
So I believe I had, I asked you to help me put that together, and it just kind of died. It didn't
Yes,
go
ma'am.
anywhere.
You were speaking in favor of some of the
Right.
changes, so we came up with proposed language to assist with that, but and it's several years ago, so I'm not remembering specifically, but the last board discussion back in 2017 was there was no interest at that time in making these changes.
So what does the language today say? Can you
It's
read?
right,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Because she's saying that was proposed language.
No.
I want to hear what,
I don't have
Okay.
the policy, I'm sorry, I don't have the policy with me tonight.
It's right here. We all have we all have internet, we can pull it up. It's right
I
here.
couldn't get it on my phone.
I don't have it.
Persons may speak for up to 3 minutes at the beginning of the meeting as indicated on the order of business and may speak up to 3 minutes to each action agenda item and board member discussion item.
May I, Madam Chair, may I make a
Go ahead.
suggestion? Because we're unclear about this, and because we're unlikely to be able to resolve it right now, may I suggest that we put it on our board discussion for June 11th, and I'll take it under my name as fine. Mrs. Esplin, if you want to have that as my discussion item, I'd be fine with that, and then we can have a fuller discussion with documentation and backup
Absolutely.
at that time.
Absolutely.
I also think it's only fair because we're missing a board member.
Yes, absolutely. And I am sincerely, I apologize if, I love Dr. Warrior, and I'm sorry if I would have offended her in any way, but I was not prepared tonight to have this conversation, and the only thing I had at my fingertips was the information and recommendation and discussion with our board attorney. Because I didn't have the language in front of me, and the way that we've always approached it in the past, so I wasn't prepared as chair to change policy based on not validating the information. I think it was my job to take recommendation from the attorney. So I apologize if the two members of our public felt offended. I did not mean to do that in any ways, but I have to run a meeting fair, and I can't do something tonight that I have not done in prior meetings, and so I just wanted to say that.
So in recognition of that, too, if I will thank the citizens for actually bringing that to our attention so that we can have a full discussion on it, we can make a firm decision, and we can move forward with clear policy in place that applies to everybody at every meeting, not just some people at some meetings in
Right.
recognition of your concern. And
Mhm.
we can do that in the next in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Mrs. Barenborg?
I was just going to ask, I was just going to say, as chair, maybe you should have that in front of you. Just
That.
the policy sitting there, and then you know.
Oh,
Because
the-
you said you weren't prepared. If you have the
Yeah.
policy sitting there, then you can say, no, I have the policy right here.
Well, we had this information, but apparently that was what was, this is
Because I think it was unclear. And
Disputed.
that's why I
Policy
said whatever is in
books.
policy is what we have to honor now.
exactly,
Yeah. But if we want to change it, that needs to be a discussion.
absolutely.
Yeah, but if it was in policy, if they were saying the policy was that you could speak to
Mhm.
both, then we have to honor that. That's why I was saying that.
I think one of the things that continues to come up with this board is that there are some things that are done by policy, and there are some things that are done just because that's the way they were done. And so this board is often asked to question the degree to which we do it because that's what's been done. And this is an example of our opportunity, I think, moving forward, to not just do what's always been done, but to actually start questioning, revising, and revisiting some of those policies, both so that we can work effectively as a board, but also so that we can increase our transparency and our willingness to listen to our constituency, which I think is what's being demanded. And I welcome that. I welcome that conversation. I think that's, sorry.
Well, and I have always been a board member that says, we're not gonna just do something because we've always done it that way in the past. Give me, what is the history behind it? But whenever you have, and I do go to Mrs. Diagresta and ask her, is this policy or is this just something
way
that
we've
we've
done it.
gotten into a pattern and now it's the norm? So yes, That is very true.
And I will say, I think that our board discussions, which we've now had in place for several months, where we now have a place to have those conversations, which didn't previously exist, helps us, have time and space to respond to those things, to question them, but not necessarily to make knee-jerk decisions about them, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's, we're gonna add that for the June 11th under Dr. Schiff's item. I'm gonna move on to school board member matters. At this time, whoever would like to go first, go ahead.
I'll go.
Okay.
This has been a really busy couple of weeks, and so without running through every graduation that I went to a lot. I counted at one point, I'd been to 11 events in the last week and a half or 2 weeks. The high school graduations were terrific and fun, and an awful lot of handshaking. I have never actually shaked that many hands inside less than 24 hours in my entire life, so that was a completely new experience. But congratulations to all of our graduates from elementary to middle to high school. We're proud of you, we recognize you, and it was an honor to be present with you and I'm looking at the camera, with all of you and all of our schools in that process. So thank you for that. Mostly what I want to say is welcome, Dr. Moxley. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up and stepping in what was an incredibly time-limited process that required you to apply, interview, say yes, make a decision, and show up all within a week. And so that was an extraordinary ask of us to you. Thank you for being that person. I am delighted to be working with you moving forward. Welcome. It's my honor and my pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to working with you for the next however long that is. Thank you for being here. And that's it for me.
You can go. I can go? Okay. Same thing, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for accepting this position. And I know it can be overwhelming. There are a lot of things that we need to have help with. I think you're the right person to help us. So I appreciate you taking the helm and saying yes to us. I agree, I've been shaking a lot of hands. I think it was close to 1,500 within the last 2 weeks, which was incredible. And because I'm the person that works during the day, and I have another 10 days of having 2 jobs, but then I won't next fall, I felt an obligation to attend as many things as I could at night. And having a husband that was out of town, it worked out great for me. And I don't expect that from everybody, because you do have families at home. And I was running. But I will say this, I learned a lot in doing that. I learned that they do appreciate when a board member is showing up, and some people expect it. And they've got to know and understand that I think I went to something every night, except for Sundays, except for one Sunday I went to something, for, I think it was 35 days in a row. So that's a lot that's going on in our district at once, between awards and graduations and things like that. And we graduate kindergartners, we graduate pre-K kids, we graduate 5th graders, 8th graders, it's crazy. So it was a lot of excitement, and I think they ran out of balloons at the dollar stores, but it was nice to see everybody congratulated and excited, and that's the part that's so much fun to go to. I will say this though, in order to coordinate, because there were times where there were 3 events in one night, and I took it upon myself to go, all right, who's going, because we can see who accepts, but we can't talk to them. So I'd say, okay, 3 of us accepted this one, so I'm going to decline that one. I'm going to go to this one because nobody's accepted it. What I'm going to ask of my fellow board members, because this is the time I can say it, is could we be cognizant of that? That if you see, I tentatively accept, and then when I know if I can go or not, I look to see how many people have accepted. If we can be cognizant of that so that we kind of spread ourselves out, because there were a couple of events that no one attended, and I looked and I said, oh, 3 people are going to that, so I'll go to this instead, and then I went and somebody else was there and nobody was at the other one. So I felt really bad about that, and there were some hurt feelings. So I know we don't do that on purpose, but I also want to make sure that we're trying to spread ourselves out as much as we can, because one person can't be in 2 places, but I also know that we have families as well. So I just want to make sure that we're using that. We have that app on our phone, and we can see whether or not somebody's accepted and whether or not you've accepted, Dr. Moxley. So we can see whether or not you're going to be there or our fellow board members are going to be there. And then we know, especially when you walk in and they say, oh, are you the guest speaker? So I got to be the guest speaker at one at the last second, off the cuff. That was a lot of fun. I think I did all right. So I just wanted to make sure that we're kind of cognizant of that. And again, congratulations to everybody. It was a great end of the year, and I look forward to my end of the school year. I've got another couple days to go, but I'm sure that next year will be a little different for me as I'll be able to free myself up to get into the schools during the day. So thank you.
Okay. So it just leaves me, I just want to say,
Mrs. Marzano.
how could we skipped our pattern here, so sorry so much. Go ahead.
I already said that it's wonderful to have you here. And it's wonderful to be able to have a board meeting. I will say it again and actually have a conversation with you. It feels like it's our meeting now. It feels like a meeting, which feels good. I wanted to, I think Kristen Maddox sent this out, and I just wanted to remind teachers that there is an opportunity on June 1st, Saturday, June 1st, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It really caught my eye, and it seems like a fantastic opportunity. 40,000 free books and resources available, probably more than that, for students, educators, school staff, and community organizations. So basically everybody. If you are free on June 1st, Saturday, June 1st, there are 3 locations: Indian River County, Vero Beach High School, Okeechobee County, which no one's from Okeechobee, and Martin County. So again, at Vero Beach High School, I'm gonna try to make it myself if I can. If anybody else is interested, Kristen sent out the information by email. But if we have community members that are watching and are interested, if you can email any one of us, we'll be able to share that information with you, because that sounds like a really great opportunity.
I don't know if you said what it was.
It is, what is it?
Book giveaway.
It is a book giveaway. It doesn't say exactly what it is. It just says 40,000 free, brand-new books. There are some sponsors here: IRCEA, FEA, which is Florida Education Association, First Book, AFT, Martin County Executive Association, and OCEA seem to be the...
May I help?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention, Mrs. Rosario. It's called First Book. And the 40,000 books are being delivered between the 3 counties that you mentioned, because all the school districts went in on it together. It required our teachers registering for First Book accounts, and that allowed us to receive a discount from First Book to have these books delivered to our districts. It was a huge undertaking by our union and the National Federation of Teachers, the Education Foundation, and our district to have these books to make this possible. So yes, June 1st at Vero Beach High School in the cafeteria. If anyone wants to come out and volunteer, they're starting setup tomorrow, and the IRCEA is offering volunteer hours and also 2 free books to anyone who comes out to volunteer. Of course, you can come back and get more on the 1st if you are an educator or a student. But absolutely, 10 to 2, Vero Beach High School cafeteria on Saturday, and there will be tons and tons of books, all levels, all topics. Please come out.
Thank you. Thank you
You're very welcome.
for sending that out. I'm glad it caught my eye. I'd also just want to kind of piggyback off of what Mrs. Barenborg mentioned with regard to school events and having them attended. Something that I noticed, and I know that we often compare counties, one with another, but there is something that St. Lucie County did well while I was there, is they made sure that there was a district-level employee, district-level administrator present at all events, at all school events, whether what is a school board member or assistant superintendent or executive director or director, but there was someone was present at all events. And that's something that I observed during the events that we had at the end of the school year with award ceremonies. There were a couple nights, as some of you know, that I worked in the evening, so it was hard for me to get out to some of them in the evening. But when I did go, Mrs. Berenborg is right. You know, some of them were very under-attended from district-level employees. So I think that that's something for us to maybe consider in the future, ensuring that maybe we can all get on the calendar, because if any of the board members cannot make it for some reason, then at least somebody is there to support the school from the district, you know, from the district standpoint. So that was an observation of mine. I do have a written statement that I'd like to read, and it's going to end with my summer wishes for everybody. Recently, there have been some questions regarding the board's contact with district-level administrators. I wanted to go on the record that under Dr. Rendell's leadership here, after asking questions on various sorts, often Dr. Rendell would refer me, this board member, to contact the coordinator or the director or the executive director personally. This was encouraged by him often. After speaking to Dr. Rendell, if and only if he would tell me to call a particular person or reach out to them, to a staff member, I would. For example, you know, human resources, the finance, the coordinator of title programs, ESOL services, technology, transportation, curriculum, and many more. Having a great working relationship and one that is open and transparent is really the only way to encourage and establish trust in the workplace. If employees and constituents have concerns that they fear bringing to their direct supervisor or to human resources or to our prior superintendent, I would be more than happy to meet with them. Sometimes there have been, and probably will be in the future, the need to report things to the superintendent for investigation. And as is, was, and if there is in the future, will be appropriate. In those circumstances, it is the superintendent's responsibility to look into the said concerns. But make no mistake, for this board member, under no circumstances will I be threatened or intimidated for doing my job as a school board member. And I hope and pray that my fellow board members will agree. No one should try to intimidate us, to keep quiet, or keep us from doing our job as elected officials and representatives of this great school district. At no point should school board members get involved with the day-to-day operations of the district under the superintendent's direct management. This is something that I personally take very seriously. I believe my fellow board members feel the same way. This district has functioned under severe intimidation for the last several years. It is most unfortunate that the pressure, the terrorizing, the fear, the bullying has been seen at its highest within the last couple of weeks. Finally, though, it feels good to breathe under new leadership. With Dr. Moxley, I look forward to continuing the hard work of rebuilding and re-strengthening trust and fostering good working relationships with every employee and with our community, because you all so desperately need this. As we end the school year, I would like to congratulate you all on successfully ending this school year. Thank you all for your hard work. Thank you all, from bus drivers, cafeteria workers, office staff, teachers' aides, teachers, administrators, and everyone in between. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your lost sleep, for the countless hours of lesson planning, for the countless hours of correcting papers. Thank you for tirelessly cleaning, prepping, cooking, and feeding our children. Thank you for waking up at the crack of dawn to pick up our kids and bring them to and from school. Thank you for standing by the side of teachers, ensuring that children learn each lesson. Thank you for welcoming parents and community members into our schools with a smile. Thank you for attending to attendance issues, placing a Band-Aid on a boo-boo, wiping a tear from a child's eye, hugging a child who was scared and afraid, and even celebrating their successes each and every day. It truly does take a village, so thank you. Thank you really isn't enough for all that you do, but thank you anyway. May you all have a safe, happy, and blessed summer. And if there are any children listening, I did not forget you. Thank you for trying your best every single day, for having the courage to study one more thing one more night, and for making it through one more school year. Thank you for all you do. I wish you, all of the children, an incredible summer. Be safe, be happy, be you, and we will see you in August.
That was very nice. I want to say that we have a board that has a heart for the kids, and I just, I appreciate each and every one of you for that. And that's why we're here. It's for these kids, and so I appreciate that. I wanted to mention tomorrow afternoon, Congressman Posey, last year, I was able to attend, and two of our students last year was honored with an award from Congressman Posey, and it's in Melbourne. If there's any board members that can attend that, I would recommend it, because the other students that are there, they're school board members from their county that's gonna be there, and I just asked that, I wanna invite you guys to join me for that.
What time is it?
I believe it's at 4 o'clock. I can have, oh, yes.
Okay.
But next year.
Next year.
Right?
I thought it was
Right.
5.
Is it?
I thought it
Well,
was.
I'll have Mrs.
Melbourne
Esplin.
at 5. That'd be tough.
I might have it at 4, so I'm not late, and I'm early, but on my calendar, I have it at 4. But I will have Mrs. Esplin send that out, and I would really encourage you, if you could come, it's really a nice presentation that Congressman Posey puts on for the students. And secondly, we have, is it 5? 5. Secondly, we have GED graduations coming up, so I would encourage you to try to make that. And we have that sent out from Mrs. Esplin, but this is really, it's such a moving experience to be able to sit through a GED graduation, and you just really hear the impacts of what the adult education is doing for the people here in our county, and it's amazing. So we're not done with the events yet. I think we probably have events up there mid-June, and I would encourage you to try to come to these last few, because they're very powerful, the ones that's coming up. And I want to say, I know I keep saying this, but I really mean it. I really appreciate you, Dr. Moxley. You come in at a time that we desperately need a strong leader that can help mend the waters that's going on right now with culture and climate. And over the last few days, just being able to work with you, you've brought a calmness to me, and I know that we've made a good decision here. So I'm very happy. And I appreciate you coming in on the holiday yesterday, and you spent the entire day working on the budget. And you've definitely hit the ground running, and I appreciate you very much. And if you need anything We're all here for you, and we look forward to working with you over the next 6 months or a year, whatever that is. So I just wanted to say thank you again.
Thank you. It was a great day. Thank you.
So at this time, we have superintendent closing. Do you have anything you want to say?
I'm just going to say, graduation is the Olympics for the education arena, and it was wonderful. I got the numbers from our graduation, and we will be increasing because of the GED graduations. In my book, we had 1,223 gold medalists.
Wow.
And that we congratulated. And so we want to thank our graduates and wish everybody a wonderful, safe summer so that they're all rested, ready to start in August.
Okay. With that, we're going to adjourn this meeting at 9:06.